Hello friends, welcome to Universe of Naruto X. If you love Naruto what if stories and anime explanations, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now let's begin today's story. Uzumaki Nar the Elder said looking down from her seat amongst the council at the blonde genin. You are hereby exiled from Konoha for attacking a fellow shinobi of the Leaf. What? Nar exclaimed. Who? He demanded. Your attack on Uchiha Sasuke. I was ordered to bring him back. The bastard attacked me. The blonde teen yelled. Your orders were to rescue Sasuke from the clutches of Orochimaru, not leave him in a coma. Another council elder said looking at the blonde with disdain. I fought him to defend myself and bring him back. He rammed a Chidori into my chest and if it weren't for my tenant I would have died and the bastard Uchiha you all worship would have continued to go to the snake temp. Nar countered. Preposterous. Sasuke would never join Orochimaru of his own free will. You must have driven him to it. Demon. Another elder spoke up. And you're an idiot. Nar shot back. Where's the sun? He asked. The Hokage washed her hands of you demon. The counselor said with disdain. That was a lie. They had Sununade banned from this meeting knowing she would stick up for the demon container. This was their chance. While she was dealing with the injured squad that had been part of the retrieval, they were going to get rid of the demon. You were banished from Konoha, and should you set foot in it again, you will be executed by order of the Hokage. A council elder said and tossed Naruto a scroll. He read it and saw his name forged and that of the village elders. His head lowered and knew that was that. Sakura's words still vibrated through his mind. Look what you did to Sasaken. I hate you, Nar. Why didn't you die? No one cares. Just go away, demon. You will be escorted beyond Konoha's borders. Anew. A pair of Anbu root members appeared. Take this trash and escort him from our borders. He is not to be harmed unless he sets foot back. The white masked ninja grabbed Naruto's arms. We give you half an hour to gather your possessions from your home. Nar remained silent. His once shining blue eyes were dim and his face emotionless. Do you understand Uchiha? Yeah. His once loud and boisterous voice was flat and dead. The roots Anbu vanished with him in a swirl. The council looked at one another in joy. They did it. They might not have been able to execute him, but exile was a start. Nar looked around his shabby hovel that was his apartment. He packed some clothes, his ninja gear, a couple of photos, and then looked at his fridge. The food had gone bad. Not that there was much to begin with. He filled several bottles with water and stored them in a scroll. He stored the rest of his things in another scroll and turned and dropped the key on the counter. Looked at the faceless Anbu who stood by the doors. There's nothing here for me. There never was, he thought, heading for the door. I'm done, he said in the same dead voice. The Anbu grabbed him and they vanished once more in a twirl of leaves. They appeared at the gates and Naruto without prompting was walking out the gates. Naruto Nyan, he kept walking, his head down, his posture slumped. Boss, another voice called out. Naruto sighed and turned to see Konohamaru, Udon, and Wa running towards him. He looked at them sadly. This would be the last time he got to see them. Hey guys, he said, his voice still flat. Nyan, you got another kick mission? Konohamaru asked. No, Naruto said. I've been exiled. What? Three voices rang out. You can't go, Konohamaru said. You're supposed to be my rival. Sorry, Konohamaru. The Hokage and the council exiled me for attacking their precious Uchiha. Nar said he reached up and untied his hit. I ate. Could you give this to Iruka for me, Konohamaru? I won't need it anymore. He then ripped the necklace from his neck and gave it to Konohamaru and returned it to the Hokage. I'm not precious to her and she'd want her grandfather's necklace back and not around the neck of someone like me. By this, the three youths were crying and Ma was hugging him around the waist, tightly sobbing. Don't go, please, I have to. If I don't, the Ambaher ordered to execute me. Konohamaru sobbed as he hugged the blonde he thought of not only as his rival sensei, but his big brother and friend. It's up to you now to become Hokage Konohamaru. Make the old man proud. Konohamaru rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand. I'll become Hokage Nyan. And I swear I'll make you proud of me. I already am Konohamaru. You'll be great someday. The will of fire will live on in you. Konohamaru cried more hearing his grandfather's words from Naruto's mouth. Nar noticed the ambush shifting and knew he had to get going. Goodbye, you three. Take care. Stick with Iruka, he said, touching Wa and Udon on their heads above the goggles. And then he pulled Konohamaru into a one-armed hug. Naruto walked through the gates of Konoha, leaving behind 3 academy students, one holding a headband and necklace with tears coming down his face. They traveled for hours using the trees. Nar and the Ambu silent. Nothing was disturbed in their passing. They were nearly to the border when the Ambu attacked. Danzo orders your death demon. The first one said, your body will be studied and secrets used for cloning. The second one said. The kunai in his shoulder left him in pain. It was in a place he couldn't reach. Bastard stabbed me in the back. Why am I surprised? Nar thought, backing up. He struggled to his feet and put his right hand up in a defensive position. Danzo will reward as well for killing you, demon. Idiots. The one on the left lunged and Naruto ducked and kicked out, taking the legs out with a hard kick to the leg, and a loud snap was heard. The ambu screamed. The other one caught Nar with a swipe of his kanny. A GHH. Nar looked at his arm and saw the cut was deep. Nar staggered back as the kanny in his back was throbbing and the wound he just received was as well. Poison, he muttered. Sadly, no, it is a paralyzing agent. It will make killing you easier and leave your body less damaged. The ambu spoke. Oh, good. Means I get to kill you without worrying about him dying. All three looked over to a figure standing by a tree. He was wearing blue ninja pants, a mesh shirt, and a black leather coat. Long silver hair was covered by a bandana and gloved hands were at the young man's side. A pair of gold eyes looked back at the ambu. Now, why are you trying to kill my friend? Mahamaru, Naruto said, his voice sluggish and his limbs felt like they were lead. Hey, Rudo. The silver-haired youth said, his eyes going back to the anbu. Be with you in a moment. I have some Konoha trash to kill. Before the anbu could move, he felt something slice his arm. What was that? He asked, looking around. I'm a wind elemental. Add in my Kek Jenk and your bone _ WHH. The ambu screamed as his very own blood burned him from the inside out. Melwasu Kek Jenk flash fry. Nar watched as the ambu fell to the ground, his eyes wide in pain and fright. Micah, Naruto said weakly. The paralyzing toxin was kicking in and he found it hard to focus. One more, Makahamaru said and his right arm lashed out and the ambu on the ground felt something wrap around him. Melwasu assassination technique, monowire decapitation. The head popped off and the body was sliced as if it was meat. Damn, Micah, you've gotten meaner, Nar said weakly as the silver-haired youth approached him. And you've gotten sloppy, Micah said, lowering Nar to the ground and pulled the kanny from his back. What happened? I've been exiled, Nar said, his mouth moving heavily, his tongue feeling like lead in his mouth. Hold still. This will hurt, but I should be able to burn the toxin from your blood. We can't stay here long enough for it to wear off. Nur said embraced himself. Bite down on this, Makahamaru said, offering him a kunai handle. Nar did and he screamed as his blood burned as Micah focused his power. A moment later, it was done. Why, you've gotten better, Nar panted, the kunai falling from his mouth. Come on, well talk away from here, Micah said, and helping Naruto to his feet, they took to the trees, leaving the remains of the ambu on the forest floor. Hours later, Micah and Naruto were resting by a stream. Those Micah, who had listened to Naruto's life since they'd last seen one another, was not enraged at what he'd learned. Micah took several deep breaths and sighed. Well, then, looks like you can come with me then without looking back. What? Nar said in surprise, didn't you hear me when I said I contain the nine-tailed fox in my gut? I heard you and we're going to get you some heavy-duty training, not the half-assed piecemeal training you've been given. Micah sipped some water and looked at his friend. I'm sorry for leaving you all those years ago. If I'd been there, you had to get your K-Jenk under control. Nar said waving him off. The old man explained it to me that if you hadn't, it would have killed you and all those around you. Naruto said, then looked at him. But that wine thing. Micah laughed. Another bloodline. Actually, it seems my mother was actually a wind demon. It's like that guy in Suna where he's got sand. I've got wind. And the great thing is there is air all around so I don't have to carry a fan to make it. They were silent for a bit until Naruto spoke. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to travel for several days, and I'm taking you to see the monk who helped me. He's wise beyond the years and as strong as a Hokage. What can he do for me? Nar asked. Well, he should be able to help you draw on and control the powers of the fox. It will take time and hard work, Nar, but when he's done with you, trust me when I say you will be the strongest ninja ever. The pair remained that way for the night. Back in Konoha, glared at the scroll on her desk. Those arrogant _ how dare they? She raged in her mind. Currently, the council was in a session with Ibiki for treason for what they'd done. She swore again as her eyes fell on the necklace and hit 8 on her desk. She'd been surprised when Konohamaru stormed into her office, yelling at her. Flashback. The door to the office exploded inwards and came to her feet and was surprised to see Konohamaru standing on the unconscious body of the Junins that had been guarding the door. How could you? He thought you cared. Konohamaru raged, storming into the office, followed by his 2 teammates. What the hell are you talking about, brat? Tsunade demanded, waving Shizune off. Don't give me that. You signed it along with the rest of those old bastards of the council. He thought of you as an aunt or even a mother, and you betrayed him. Konohamaru snarled, tossing a scroll at her. After all Nyan did for this village, he brought you back here, and you exile him. Nade looked at the young academy student in shock. She unrolled the scroll and read the order and was shocked to see her name on there. Those bastards. Those old bastards. She slammed the scroll down. Shizune, get Ibiki and Enko here now along with a full squad of Anbu. Make sure none of them are aligned with Danzo. Sununade looked at the scroll with the exile order in rage. Her eyes looked up to see Konohamaru. I did not sign this, Konohamaru. I swear. She watched as the young man glared at her. I swear on my forefathers that I did not sign this. I promise I will take care of this. Konohamaru give her what Naruto Nyan gave you. Mwa said. Konohamaru still didn't believe the Hokage, but pulled out the Hitaiden and necklace, dropping them on the desk. Nar was my friend. He was the first person to see me as Konohamaru, not honorable grandson. He treated me as an equal. And I swear, old lady, I swear I will become Hokage and show this village what happens to those who betray their heroes. Konohamaru spun and stormed out, followed by Udon and Mwa. Tsunade was in shock. Her little brother had been exiled and thought she had been part of it. Jiraiya, she screamed. She needed her old teammate to find the blonde and bring him back. She was soon joined by Ibiki and Enko, and along with Shizune, she told them what had happened and what they were going to do. End. Flashback. She'd had the entire council arrested and Danzo was on the run along with his Roots agents. She looked up hearing a sound and Jiraiya was slipping in through the window. Where is he? Did you find him? She demanded. No, I found 2 dead Ambu members near the border. It looked like they tried to kill Nar. I found a kunai with his blood on it. Jera said he killed them in self-defense. Good. Nay, they weren't killed by Nar. One was burned from the inside out as if his blood had been set on fire. The other was sliced like ham steak. Jiraiya said, someone helped Nar, but I lost their trail in the trees. Swore, damn the council. She looked at her old teammate. He's out there, Jiraiya. He's out there and he thinks we all hate him. Heard what the Haruno said, then did you? He asked. Yes. I tore into her and demoted her. I was thinking of making her my new apprentice for Nar, but after hearing how she treated him, I trashed that idea. Jiraiya pulled her into a hug. Well, find him. I swear we will. Nar looked from the hidden mountaintop. He could see the surrounding area for miles in all directions. The mountain was on the border of several lands, and it had confused him that it had been hidden. Konohamaru explained it to him when he uttered his amazement. It's a powerful jutsu. The mountain is time-skipped. The only way to access it is by using the hand signs you saw me make. Otherwise, you'll pass on through it as if it weren't there. It had been days since his exile from Konoha, the Leaf Village. And during that time, traveling further and further away, Micah had taught Nar proper chakra control exercises and meditation in order to control his and the Kyobi's chakra better. The problem is you were learning a ninja's way of controlling their chakra. You have the fox's chakra mixed with your own through your whole body. The normal exercises won't work for you properly. He taught Nar how to focus and explained to him and showed him some basic skills that he told Nar that Master Ki had showed him when he first was sent to the Shaolin priest. Nar admitted that after a day he felt different. Of course you do. It's like night and day. Once you learn the proper ways to mold your chakra, you'll find that everything else will fall into line and you'll have control that will put the Sannin to shame. Nar explained to Micah at night how he felt different. It's like I'm calmer at peace with the world around me. I also feel the fox. Nar said, scratching the back of his head. Nar, you feel the fox, but do you really feel it? Micah asked, feel what? Nar asked, confused and looking at his silver-haired friend. Konohamaru sighed. Have you ever talked with the Kyobi? He asked, his voice soft, his eyes looking off to the horizon. Once Naruto admitted he saw his friend's questioning gaze and explained it was Ero-sanin was teaching me to summon. He tossed me off the cliff and I don't know crawled in my own mind or something and told the fox to give me rent. I came out of my head and summoned the boss toad. Konohamaru shook his head. We really are going to be talking about your sensei. The silver-haired teen muttered. And Naruto blinked, wondering what he meant about that and the tone in his friend's voice. Nani, later. Nar, please just wait till you speak with Master Ki. He'll explain it so much better than I ever could. I don't want to say it the wrong way and confuse or frighten you. Micah sighed. Please, for now, just work on the meditation exercises I showed you earlier. Nar nodded. And if you should talk to the Kyobi again before we see Master Ki, please be respectful. What the damn fox? Just do it. Micah yelled, cutting off whatever insult Naruto was going to say. Nar blinked. Micah had never raised his voice to him in the past before he'd left Konoha. Micah sighed, seeing Naruto's expression. I'm sorry, Nar. I didn't mean to yell. Just please trust me. I swear on a mountain of Ikyaku ramen that all will be clear once we talk with Master Key. Naruto nodded after a moment. Swearing on ramen between them was very big. It was sacred. It was what the two of them had bonded over when they met at the orphanage all those years ago. Now, Makahamaru said, sitting down across from Nar, both of them taking a meditative lotus position. Close your eyes, Micah said, and Nar mirrored him, shutting his own eyes. Calm your mind. Focus on your breathing. Breath in and hold. Nar took a slow breath and did just as he was told. Breath out. Remember to release it slowly and relax. Micah reminded him. They did this for some time, just breathing in, holding it, and releasing it. After a bit of time, Nar found himself relaxing. Tension flowed from his muscles and out of him. He allowed his mind to focus on his breathing, and as he relaxed, he could feel his senses sharpening, becoming clearer. He could smell the coming storm that was miles away from the mountain. He could smell the earth and stone beneath him. Nar could smell the surrounding trees, the leaves, the bark, the sap. He could smell the rabbits in the nearby bushes. His enhanced hearing. He could hear the rabbit's heartbeat. The surrounding leaves from the trees sounded loud as they were lightly blown in the breeze. He could hear Mika's slow, steady breaths along with his friend's heartbeat. It was strong and steady. Focusing himself inward, he could hear his own heartbeat start to become in sync with Mika's. He focused further in and could feel the two different chakra in his body. He could feel it flow through all the parts of his body, both his chakra and the kalbas. The fox's chakra, if Nar was asked to describe it, he would say it felt wild. He swore it smelled of earth, of fire, of wind, and water. It felt strong, and when it flowed through his chakra coils with his own, it felt liberating, as if it was the right thing to do. He traced it through his body to the seal, and his mind followed the seal's design. Deeper and deeper he went into his subconscious. He followed the chakra flow, his breathing slowing and his heartbeat relaxing. He was lost in the sensations and jumped when a familiar voice addressed him. Welcome back, brat. Meanwhile, Konoha stood in the council chamber, her eyes focusing on the gathered council. Behind each member was a masked ambu standing guard. Around the rest of the chamber sat the leaders of 10 of the 12 great clans of Konoha. What is the meaning of this Sununade? Azu, one of the council members, demands. You had us dragged from our homes and kept in cells below the tower for several days. Hamada. Another member speaks up. You overstep your authority. Nomu. A third member sneers. A locks eyes with each of them. I overstep my authority, she repeated. Her hands tightened at her sides and everyone in the room could hear the tightening and cracking of knuckles. You all are trying to play innocent and think that I am stupid. Did any of you not think I wouldn't find out what you did? We have no idea what you're rambling about, perhaps you've hit the sake too much in recent days. Suaduda sneered. Narrowed her eyes. I am speaking of you idiots forging my signature and exiling Uzumaki Naruto. You could hear a pin drop in the council room. You are charged with treason. It is punishable by death forging the Hogue signature. And by what right did you morons think you could exile my little brother? Noade Suoda tries to reason, but her fist connecting with his jaw sends the council member crashing through the chamber wall and into the waiting room beyond that is filled with ambu. That's Lady Hokage to you morons. She says, turning to look at the rest of the council. You stupid fools actually thought you'd get away with it. Naruto Uzumaki has done everything for this village, from containing the Kobe since his birth to defeating Gar of Suna during the Chunin exams to bringing me back here and convincing me to be Hokage. I'm wondering why he bothered. This village is showing me that it's not worth the price Naruto has paid. Looked around the chamber, disgust on her face. I Harvey charged this council with treason. The sentence is death. Murmurs from the rest in the room is heard. Inu leave. The animal masked nin vanish. Sununade looks at the clan leaders. I suggest you all leave as well. Once they were through the door, Sununade looked at the council. I thought long and hard about how to go about your execution. It was one person, a genin, who gave me an idea. Looked over her shoulder as the doors opened one more time. A small figure wearing black robes and a hood entered slowly, hands hidden by oversized sleeves that were folded together before the figure. I was going through the scrolls the third had left me when I found one. I was going to use it myself. I was about to sign it with my blood to activate it when the genin there asked to do it. I hesitated, and in that I was beaten. Now I present to you revenge. I give you your executioner. The hood slipped back, revealing dark blue hair, pale white eyes focused with the veins of the Bakugan. The slender features of Hyuga Hinata stared back, and her eyes burned with raw anger and hatred. When she spoke, it wasn't the voice that the council had heard before. The voice was hollow, cold. Your souls are stained with corruption. Hinata spoke, but it wasn't her. Put a hand on the girl's shoulders. Hinata is the first nin since Kasha Uzuaki to host the spirit of vengeance. She said. Hinata's hair moved as if blown by a breeze and the black robes whipped around her as she advanced on the council. You have been weighed. Several more steps brought her closer to the trapped council. In the light they could see her skin was nearly bone white now. Her Bakugan eyes went from white to black. You have been measured. She reached the first member of the council and her gentle fist style connected, and the counselor behind the first was covered with gore as the vengeance spirit enhanced blow blew a hole through the chest of the council member. And you have been found lacking, the cold spirit possessed voice of Hinata said. And another council member fell after a flurry of gentle fist strikes that normally would have shut down the numerous chakra points in a body was instead blowing holes in bodies. Sununade stood before the door, and any council member that rushed at her to escape met with her chakra-powered punch that sent them flying towards the spirit-possessed Hinata, who with a Jukin strike would blow holes in them. Suahu was trying to escape out the waiting room he'd landed in, turned to see a blood-covered Hyuga. You exiled him, and all he did was the right thing. My host may have trouble speaking her heart, but the boy has been marked by fate and destiny. You have denied them, and for that you will pay. As the spirit of vengeance, I will do what I can to repair the threads of destiny. You, however, will no longer witness them. The Jukin blow to the head obliterated Suda's head as if it wasn't there. 8 trigrams, 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms. The spirit of vengeance possessed Hyuga looked at the body of Suda that looked like Swiss cheese. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. The last blows rained down and the body was now so much sludge as it slid to the floor. Sununade sighed. She lied to the council. When she'd come back to her office after meeting with the Jonin instructors, she'd found Hinata standing amidst the remains of the safe. She was applying her blood to the scroll. Flashback. Sunade stepped over the unconscious bodies of her guard and entered her office to see Shizune tied to a chair unconscious. Sununade turned to see Hinata standing amidst the remains of the vault. Scroll in hand. What is the meaning of this? Demanded. Hinata looked up, her eyes wide. She seemed to shrink upon herself. Then, as if mentally bracing, she looked at the angry Hokage before her. They must pay for what they did to Naruto. Kunsade looked at the genin. They will be executed. No. Hinata yelled. All his life. The Sea Council has gone out of its way to hurt and hinder our Naruto-kun. When you told us they exiled him, saw tears in the young girl's eyes. It took her restraint not to go to the girl that seemed to care for her adopted little brother. Hinata, no. I remember my mother speaking about a sealed scroll that was here. It contains a vengeance spirit. I will do what I must for Naruto. If they I will be punished. I will do it. Watched as Hinata broke the seal and after reading it, bit her thumb and a drop of blood touched the scroll. A flash of white light enveloped the Hyuga heiress and a shockwave knocked Sununade off her feet. When she looked up, Hinata stood there. Free, the cold, hollow voice said. The girl's head to the side as if listening to a conversation only she could hear. Conditions accepted. Vengeance will be served. Sununade felt the chill run up her spine. What will this cost us? She thought as a shadow formed a cloak around the Hyuga girl. And what will this mean for Naruto, who didn't even know she cared? End. Flashback. Vengeance has been served, the cold voice said, and Sunade found the girl standing before her. Remind the girl when she awakens of our deal. What deal? Sununade demanded of the vengeance spirit. I wish to meet her chosen. For once so pure to offer me freedom to walk the land in the face of evil. I am intrigued. Fear not, Hokage. My lot in existence is to serve. I return to the scroll when my host dies. The Hyuga had a grin on her face at that. But that will be as hard as killing a demon or a Hanyu. Till I am needed. Peace. Hokage of the Leaf. Watched as the girl seemed to shimmer, and as color returned to her skin, her eyes returned to the white eyes of the Hyuga, the cloak dissolved around her, leaving her in her clothes. Did I do it? Hinata asked as she slumped to the floor unconscious. Sununade looked at the remains of the council and knew they would need some mops and sponges to get the remains off the floor and walls. Yeah, you did fine, Suan said, picking her up and carrying her from the chamber of death as it would be called in Konoha after this day. The sun was rising and Naruto looked to Makahamu. Now why couldn't we find this sensei of yours yesterday? The blonde Jinchuriki asked. He was in the village at the base of the mountain. It was Tuesday. He plays shogi on Tuesday. Nar face planted to the ground. Hearing that, what? Makahamaru laughed at his friend's yell. Calm down. He'll be back in a bit. Micah sighed and looked at Nar since yesterday. The blonde was a bundle of nervous energy. He told Makahamaru of his meeting with the Kobe. Flashback. Welcome back, brat. Nar spun around and realized he drifted into the back of his own mind in meditation. What the hell? You act like you don't want to see me. I'm crushed. The pair of glowing red eyes glared down at Nar from behind the Cajun seal. Maybe because I don't want to see you, fuzzball. Nar said so insolent. You know who I am and you still act like a hairless monkey your ancestors are descended from. The Kaoli said. Nar realized that this was different than the last time. The Kaobi was acting different. Confused brat. Nar could tell the Kaobi was actually laughing at him, but he remembered Mika's warning. Please be respectful, and Naruto bit back the dozen of taunts that he could hurl. He settled for nodding. You're not as stupid as I first feared. The Kaobi admitted movement could be heard in Naruto that the Kaobi was laying down in the cage. Slowly, he walked towards it and stopped before the bars. No threats, no promises of death, Nar asked, confused. A snort from behind the bars and in the shadows was heard. No Kit. I woke up cranky and was still confused from the genjutsu I had been under when I attacked the Leaf Village. A deep sigh could be heard and Naruto leaned against the bars. Before that, I knew Minato. He was honorable, respected in the realm of summons. Even while I struggled to break the spell on me, he delayed as long as he could before he pulled out calling upon the Shinigami. Nar could hear the sadness in the fox demon's voice. Did you know even when he was sealing me and putting my spirit into hibernation? He apologized to not only you for what he was doing, but to me as well. He wept. Khan Nar asked, not sure if the honorific was correct. He barely used them on people like Oji-san and he'd been the third Hokage. What Kit? Why are you acting different? Silence filled the cage and Naruto was thinking of asking again when the Kaobi spoke. I'm old Kit. I've seen civilizations rise and fall. I've seen the birth and extinction of races. I'm never going to have a family of my own. My body was destroyed when I was sealed inside you. Nar listened as Mika suggested he do. He wasn't sure what to say anyways and so he listened. When I woke up during your mission when you thought your teammate had been killed, I wasn't fully awake. When you showed up demanding chakra, I still wasn't fully awake. The nine-tailed fox demon explained, and like some people, I woke up cranky. It took me time to regain my full memories and look upon yours. When that child who stank of snakes rammed that lighting attack into your chest, Kaobi sighed. I felt fear for the first time in a millennia. You thought you were going to die. Nar said, no, Kit. It wasn't for me. I felt fear. It was for you. During your battle, you did something that hasn't been seen in a long time. Your friend with you now has the same potential. I saw that potential nearly wasted for a spoiled child having a delusion of grandeur. Nar wasn't sure what to say. I'm tired, Kit. I'm using a lot of my own energy to rebuild your body. Your poor diet has stunted your growth. You should be as tall as your friend who smells of blood and wind. How do you know what Mika smells like? Nar asked a chuckle from the cell and Nar sees the Kaobi's eyes lock on him. I can't control you, Kit, but I can enhance your senses and see what you see, know what you know. The seal works both ways. You get my chakra, and you were supposed to be able to tap into my knowledge, but that time passed. What do you mean? Nar asked. Another sigh. Gee, the great fox demon does that a lot, it seems. While I slept, you were supposed to know what I know. My vast knowledge of jutsu was supposed to be absorbed by you. Nar shrugged. Don't look at me. The only one I think who would know would be Ojian, but he's dead and now I'm exiled from Konoha, and I doubt Oba-chan or Ero-sanin would give that kind of information to me. Kyu said, hey, Kit. Yeah, Nar answered. Your friend, the silver-haired one, Makahamaru, what about him? Nar asked. Ask him why he smells of dragons, the Kaobi asked. Naruto was confused but felt himself leaving his mind. He wondered what the Kaobi meant by that. Well, that and why the fox kept calling him Kit. End flashback. Relax, Rudo. Mika said Nar saw his friend was resting against a tree. How come we have to wait here? Can't we wait at this K house? Nar asked. Nar had asked Mika about what the Kaobi has said and asked. Mika said Ki would explain and insisted Naruto remain patient till then because Ki has his home under the same spell as the mountain and only he can allow access. Mika explained. Well, what if he's in there and we have to wait days? Nar asked, sitting down next to his friend. Then we wait days, Mika said with a smirk. He knew Nar had a hard time sitting still. It came from the boundless energy the blonde had. And that back in Konoha, a still Naruto usually ended up a beaten down Nar. Now, Mika, there is no need to tease your friends. So, you know, I've been sitting here watching you meditate since the sun rose above the horizon. Nar jumped to his feet, a kunai appearing in each hand in a relaxed guard position. Mika chuckled as he rose to his feet and turned. There sitting on a tree branch was an elderly man in bright orange and red robes, a shaven head with fuzzy white eyebrows and a long mustache and goatee. Think Mako with Pay My features from Kill Bill. Master Ki, Mika said, bowing to the man relaxing above him. Ki bowed his head and his dark eyes focusing on Naruto. You return and brought your friend like you promised. Hi, Master Ki. Allow me to present Uzumaki Naruto, formerly of Konohagaka, the Jinchuriki of the Kabi no Kutsun, and my brother in all but blood, Micah said, continuing to bow. Hi, Naruto said, waving to the Shaolin, who was still relaxing above them. Nice robes, Micah snorted and looked at his friend. What? They're a good color, Nar defended himself. Micah shook his head, and above them, Ki chuckled. Thank you, Nar-san. Your jumpsuit is of fine coloration for you as well. Nar smiled widely at that. Dude, that so sucks. Your clothes scream. Here I am. Kill me now. I swear you two must be colorblind. Micah said. An acorn smacked him in the forehead and he glared at the monk who was looking at him with a raised eyebrow. Coming from you, that is a compliment. Ki admonished. Now, I believe we have much to discuss, and as I am an old man, we shall do so overt. Nar didn't see him move, but the old man was gone. When he looked around, he saw him standing before a gate that wasn't there before. Whaat. Where the hell did that come from? How did the old man move so fast? Micah Makahamaru Sidate. Seems a lot of people do that around Naro frequently. Time skipped, remember. And I'm sure he'll show you how he moves that quick. Don't fall for his old man performance. He could whip both of us and sip his damn tea while doing it. Hardly. Micah sand. Both boys jumped as Ki appeared between them. I would never endanger my tea set while demonstrating your continuing lack of manners. Now this way, boys, and remember, while this is my home, it was at one time a temple. So show respect. He vanished again and Naruto looked at his friend who motioned and together they passed through the gates. Konoha Tsunade looked at the gathered jonin and the news she asked. Many people are upset you had the council executed for what they did. Uruka said from where he was working Shazan's desk, how is your team? Asked Ma was not his usual loud self. Recent events had dimmed his passion for the village he called home. Lee is training after his surgery. Tenon is making sure he isn't pushing too hard past your orders. He looked at the Hokage. Neji as you and Lady Shizune know has woken and should be up by the end of the week. Team 9 should be ready in 2-3 weeks for active duty. Guy said in a subdued tone. Nodded. Asuma. She asked looking at the smoking jonin. Her sensei's son pulled his cigarette out and looked towards Shikamaru and Ino. Shoji will be out of action for at least a month, maybe 2. His using all 3 food pills did a number on his body and his father has informed me that any rush and it could kill him. Shikamaru, as you know, is recovered enough for light duty and Ino needs more training after recent events. Team 8 is out of action, he concluded. Kurani had asked, Ka and Akamaru will be down indefinite amount of time. While KBA will be ready to return to duty in a week, Akamaru, I am told by Ka's mother, won't be able to do anything for 2 months minimum. The jonin of Team 10 was frustrated. Shino is ready for active duty after spending time with his clan and rebuilding his hive. She looked at the bug user who nodded silently at his sensei's evaluation. I have not seen Hinata since the revelation about Uzumaki. I know where Hinata is, said cutting her off. She is undergoing specialized training with a new jutsu Shizune and I taught her. Kurana bowed her head but the worry on her face told the Hokage she would have to reveal recent events with the Hyuga Ries soon. Now I need to read Ladyad. Everyone turned to see Kakashi Haki standing at the back of the room. His one eye looked haggarded. His clothes looked like he'd slept in them for several days straight. His hair was hanging low. Yes, Hatake. Team 7 is out of commission. The Hokage cut him off. Sasuke, should he awaken, will be on trial for abandoning the village. He was under a lot of pressure. Surely you can show him lenience. Kakashi said, tell me, Hideki, what of your other students? She demanded, well, Sakura has been at Sasuke's side. Do it sad about Naruto, but I'm sure he'll land on his feet. The killing intent washed over the room, and Tsunade glared at the silver-haired jonin. I revise my judgment. Of course, once Sasuke recovers, Kakashi was saying, Team 7 isn't out of commission. Tsunade said, cutting him off. As of right now, Team 7 is disbanded. Inform Haruno that she is to report to the academy. She will be working with the 7-year-olds in class 410. But lady, be reasonable. Kakashi said, reasonable. You're lucky I don't demote you to Chunin Kakashi. You never taught. You favored the Uchiha. As of right now, you are on probation and you will be reporting to Kenshin at the Armory Guy. Kurana and Asuma looked at Kakashi sadly. They had warned him in the past that this could happen for his favoritism. But I need to train Sasuke. The council, the copy nin stuttered. The council doesn't exist anymore. Roared. They had no business in military affairs to begin with. My grandfather and uncle would be sickened at what they have done to this village. Took a moment to compose herself. Now, as I was saying, I'm going to reshuffle the teams a bit. Kurana, you will be taking Ino and Shikamaru on your team. Asuma, I'm going to need you to step up and work with some of the patrols. What about Hinata? She's going to be on special assignment for some time, Karana. It is vital she isn't disturbed for now. The truth was she was concerned about the vengeance spirit that was sharing Hinata's body. The scroll had vanished after Hinata had signed it, preventing Sununade from seeing what could be done about the spirit. Guy, I need you to work with your team when they are up and running. Until then, I'm going to add you to the patrols as well. Thought a moment. She was about to speak when the door banged open and Shizune raced in. She looked frazzled. Shizune, what is it? Aren't you supposed to be with Hinata? Asked, seeing her apprentice and friend in such a state. Lady Tsunade. Hinata. Shizune was gasping for breath. Hinata woke up. Well, that was quicker than I thought. The Hokage muttered. Well, that's good news. But no, Shizune cut her off. She woke up and is going to kill Sasuke. Looked up seeing Kakashi vanish with a shunshin. Damn. The fifth Hokage swore pulling the same move, leaving a room full of nin with a ton of questions. Konoha Hospital. Sakura had been watching over Sasuke for the last several days. She would check his chart and would take a moist rag and wipe his brow. Damn that Nar. Look what he did to Sasuke. Sakura thought as she studied her crush. Kakashi had left to go to a meeting, but Sakura didn't care. She only focused on the raven-haired youth before her. She'd been so lost in thought that she didn't hear the door open behind her. Hello, Haruno. Sakura spun around at the hollow feminine voice. Her green eyes locked on the pure black eyes of Hinata. Where they would normally be white, they were of the deepest black. A black cloak hung around her body. It moved as if blown by a breeze. Hinta. Sakura asked in surprise. Have you come to see how Sasuke-kun is doing? The cold laugh sent a chill up Sakura's spine. I haven't come to see him, Haruno. I've come to enact vengeance. Sasuke Uchiha's judgment day is at hand. What do you mean? Sasuke hasn't done anything wrong. Sakura said, standing up and putting herself between the coma patient Sasuke and Hinata, who was acting very strange. Leave Hinata. Sakura demanded. Another laugh. Cuckoo quiz know this little girl. It doesn't matter if you're a king or a street sweeper. Sooner or later you visit the Reaper. Vengeance has been called forth. The black Bakugan eyes turned to the unconscious body of the Uchiha. Sasuke Uchiha, your soul is stained with corruption and sin. Hatred and greed have been your maker. Now your end is here. Sakura's eyes widened as Hinata turned her eyes upon her. Hinata's skin looked bone white. She braced herself, unsure of what to make of the once quiet and stuttering girl. Moved, child, or you shall share his fate. Sakura saw the gentle fist stance of the Jukin, and Sakura was unarmed and between what she could think of as heaven and hell. Sakura's eyes widened as Hinata turned her eyes upon her. Hinata's skin looked bone white. She braced herself, unsure of what to make of the once quiet and stuttering girl. Moved, child, or you shall share his fate. Sakura saw the gentle fist stance of the Jukin, and Sakura was unarmed and between what she could think of as heaven and hell. And now the rigid hand was caught just before impact. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura screeched in relief as her sensei caught Hinata's arm by the wrist. Kakashi grunted. What is she? He thought as it was taking everything he had to hold the hand from connecting. Sakura, move. Kakashi ordered, his concentration on the girl before him. What the hell happened to her? She looks possessed. Kakashi thought and shoved hard, sending the pale Hyuga back out the door. She said she's going to kill Sasuke. Sakura said, stay back, Sakura, Kakashi ordered. Something isn't right with her. No duh, came the cold voice. Hinata stood there, her eyes locked on Kakashi. You two have done harm to him. The black eyes scanned the three people in the room. Contempt, hate, apathy. He just wanted to be accepted, acknowledged, and you all did is hate and spew your spleen upon him. Who? Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked, confused. Stupid twit. The one this shell favors. The one you all know as Naruto. What? Sakura was confused even more. Who cares about that baka? He attacked Sasuke. Look what he did to him. Sakura said, pointing at the coma patient by rights. He should have killed him, but he kept his vow to Uruno. He brought him back. He kept him out of the hands of Orochimaru and the Sound Village. And what did you do to him? Before anyone could blink, Hinata was before Sakura and held her down. So she was eye to eye with Hinata. Lust, envy, you stink of them. Your soul is stained with corruption. Look into my eyes and feel the pain you have inflicted upon Naruto. Feel my wrath, penance stare. Kakashi tried to intervene, but he was intercepted by Sununade. We need to stop her. She's possessed. He informed the Hokage. I'm aware of what she is. Kakashi. Hinata is the host to the spirit of vengeance. She made a blood pact with it. What? Why? Kakashi asked. His head snapped around hearing Sakura's keening wail as she slumped to the floor and folded herself into a fetal position. Her eyes wide, her breathing rapid, and she broke out in a cold sweat. What did she do to her? He asked, looking at the Hokage. She showed Sakura all of Naruto's pain. Said she'd found some scrolls that mentioned the spirit's capabilities. The penance stare was considered the worst punishment other than death that the spirit could inflict. Sakura, if she recovered, would forever be marked by what she mentally witnessed. Hinata moved towards Sasuke. Stop. The black eyes turned towards her. By what right do you order me to halt vengeance? Sighed. Nar fought to bring him back alive. It would be foolish to kill him after the suffering him and his team went through to bring him back. Vengeance must be served, the spirit's cold voice said through Hinata's lips. It will be. You have my word, she offered her hand to the girl. Read me, she said. Lady Hokage, Kakashi said in concern. Read my aura. See what Naruto means to me. She told the vengeance-driven Hyuga. A pale white hand lashed out, and Tsunade was surprised how warm the girl felt. She felt the spark and knew that the spirit was reading her aura. You claimed sisterly affection, but it matronly that you truly feel. You hide your feelings for fear. The spirit released Tsunade's hand and glared at the unconscious Uchiha. Your punishment has been postponed. Uchiha know that vengeance might be delayed but never stopped. The black eyes turned towards Kakashi. He is being punished and will be punished further. Said, pervert, know this. Should the one this shell calls Uzumaki Naruto desire vengeance, it shall be his to claim. The more memories I see from my host and from those around, the more and more I see that Uzumaki Naruto has the right to call for vengeance. For Konoha has failed to honor a true hero time and time again, even ignoring the dying wish of the fourth Hokage. How do you know? Asked. Your aura held some of the knowledge, but it was his memories I saw. Kakashi Hideki holding your sensei's own son in contempt. What would Minato say? Hinata smirked then and it wasn't a friendly one. Or my previous host my the son of my previous host. The black eyes unfocused for a bit. The girl is aware of all that has happened. This shell was most displeased to hear how the one called Naruto Uzumaki was treated. It looks like I might be very busy in the coming years. Hinata slumped and Tsunade caught her. What happened? Kakashi asked. The possession leaves her exhausted. Shell's sleep another day looked at the Jonin. Was she right? Did you mistreat Nar? Kakashi winced knowing he was going to get it no matter what he said. Nar woke to the sun in his face and he could hear the light sounds of the wind chimes scattered around the former temple. Yesterday had been enlightening speaking with Master Ki. The Shaolin priest had listened to Naruto's story from as far back as he could remember, only asking questions to clarify certain things. They talked a bit about the Kalobi, and then Micah told Nar about his own training and his ability with the wind came from his demon heritage. Where you were a vessel, I actually had a demon in the family. She was one of the wind dragons. Her name's Sonia. Nar felt the Kalobi in the back of his mind. He could feel the Nenetal's surprise at hearing that name and decided to ask him about it later. So, because I am descended from a demon, I can control the wind. Micah finished. Do you hate me for not telling you? No. Nar yelled. Stupid temp. I have the Kalobi. You think it matters to me who you are descended from? Both boys exchanged a look and chuckled. As enlightening as this is, Master Ki had said, clearing his throat. There is much we need to discuss as well as plan your training schedule. Naruto remembered the hours they spoke about his past training and the looks Master Ki and Mikahamaru had. They are not fit to be called Sensei Naro-san. Master Ki said to him before letting him go to bed. Know that in the coming weeks and months I will teach you properly and when your training with me is complete, I will offer you an option to learn from someone with more experience than me. Ki said in that even tone he'd used. Naruto and Micah were shuffled off to bed with promise of training to begin in the morning. Now he was awake and getting dressed. He stepped out of his room to find Micah in pants and a gray shirt looking aliciously around trying to wake up. About time you woke up, he muttered. Sensei had me up before the sun running laps. And in the days after this, Naruto-san will be joining you. Master Ki said from where he was sitting. A cup of tea in one hand and a walking stick laying on the ground next to him. Now Naruto, first we need to get your body prepared. You will run laps with Mahasan and then the two of you will fetch water from the stream. The tanks are running low. Naruto looked out to the yard to see the large water towers. Nani, there are 6 of them. The two of you will carry water from the stream at the base of the mountain. Micah will show you the direct path. Micah cursed under his breath. Let's go, Nar. We have laps to run first, then water to get. The silver-haired teen set off at a steady jog. When they were on their laps, Nar looked at his friend. Micah. Nar said getting a grunt from his friend. I thought you said he'd train me. He is Nar. Your body needs to be strengthened. Once he's sure of that, he will begin teaching you his taijutsu styles. Trust me, bro. This is going to be a long haul. And in the end it will be good for you. Nar grumbled about running. He wasn't serious about hauling water up the mountain. Was he? Nar asked on their fourth lap around the mountain. He was panting and had a stitch in his side. Deadly serious. Why not use a water jutsu to fill them? Nar asked because carrying buckets of water up the path is another form of exercise. You need to know Nar. You were badly trained. Basic exercises that would help you. Obviously, you weren't told of, but none of the other students in my class knew it either. I never saw any of them doing this, Nar said as he continued to run. He could feel the Kyobi's chakra healing his muscles as he ran. I don't understand it either. I know the other villages have been to since leaving Konoha. Their ninja undergo extreme training, but they seem weaker in genjutsus and enjutsus. A lot of other nations seem to focus more on the weapons and taijutsus. While Konoha is known for its Keikei Genk fetish, look at it this way. If you ever get trapped or can't use chakra, you'll be physically stronger. Nurad thought of another genin, one that couldn't use chakra, one that should be back on his feet. If he stopped that thought, it led to depression, thinking of Sun. She exiled me. She signed the order herself. He thought of her flowing script and sigil at the bottom of the document. They did 10 laps around the mountain and overhead the noon sun beat down upon the sweating pair. As they stumbled into the temple courtyard, they found Master Ki sitting in the shade of a sakura tree sipping his tea. Water, he said, and both boys glared at him. When are you going to start training? Nar asked. Ki sipped his tea. Hey. Nar saw the monk raise an eyebrow at him, but continued to sip his tea. That's it. Nar lunged only to find himself changing direction in midair and Ki just look at him with a raised eyebrow. He grabs Naruto's wrist, dodging the intended blow and without moving twists it so Nar is on his knees facing away, his arm bent at an angle that indicates it can be broken easily. Master Ki sets his teacup down and motions for Micah to move the set away. He then turns his gaze upon Nar. Do you think you could actually beat me? The old man sounded amused. Yes, Naruto yelled, trying to wrest his arm away, but Ki shook his head and added more pressure. I could snap your arm like a twig and kill you where you are now. Do you actually think you could beat me? No. Nar gritted through the pain. What the hell is this old guy? Last night he was all smiles and looked like a breeze could blow him down. But this is insane. Nar thought. You are aware I could kill you for attacking me? Ki asked. Yes. Naruto said through the pain. His shoulder felt like it was on fire and he couldn't move off his knees to relieve pressure. Is it your wish to die then? Ki asked, stroking his beard, his eyes amused. No. Nar shouted and tried to struggle, but Ki added a bit more pressure, stopping him from moving. Then you are simply stupid. Ki said, shaking his head. Rise, stupid, and look at me. I wish to peer into your eyes and see what I have to work with. He released Naruto's arm, and the blonde took a moment before getting to his feet to shake his arm and rotate his shoulder, making sure it wasn't damaged. Nar stood, his eyes down, and Ki laughed. You are weak, out of shape. With one move, you are breathing hard. If this is the caliber of ninja in the world today, then it is perhaps time for the way of the ninja to pass. Nar said nothing, but he was seething inside. Is there anything you do well other than yell like a howler monkey? I fight well. I know some kick moves. Ah, yes. Your doppelganger jutsu and the Rasen. Ki shook his head. Far too dangerous in the hands of someone so stupid to attack without thinking. Ki stepped away from the tree. Well then, stupid boy, show me your kick moves. Nar spun and putting his fingers in the cross position, summoned up the chakra. Shadow clone jutsu. He roared and with a puff of smoke, there were 100 Naruto in the temple courtyard. Ki stood there impassive with an eyebrow raised. He looked over at Micah. You might want to fetch water. Your friend is going to be unconscious in a moment and I would like some tea. Oh, it's on now, old man. Nar and his clones roared. Many of them started to form the Rinnegan. Ki looked bored at them and stroked his beard. You're going down. The real Nar roared. Oh, it's on now, old man. Nar and his clones roared. Many of them started to form the Rasengan. Ki looked bored at them and stroked his beard. You're going down. The real Naruto roared. Rasengan. Now, Rasengan. 4 Nar clones met their end and the original was blown backwards. Master Ki stood there looking bored, combing his fingers through his long goatee, totally untouched. Pitiful, Nar got up and attacked with a flurry of punches and kicks. Master Ki blocked them all with one hand. He stepped to the side, avoiding a lunging Naruto. And after the blonde staggered past, he smacked him across the back of the head. I can't believe you are the container for the great Kobe. Ki continued, you're sloppy and weak. You have no control, and your emotions rule your every action. I'll show you, you bastard. Nar roared and summoned up 6 new cage bunchons. The first 4 went on the attack trying to strike Ki from 3 different angles while Naruto used the last 2 clones to make his Rinnegan. He then lunged and Ki looked at him then shook his head before tilting to the side and striking Naruto in the stomach with an elbow. When Naruto looked up again after catching his breath from the hard blow, he saw Ki standing beneath the tree once more watching Sakura blossoms falling. Pulling a kunai, he kicked up to his feet and charged. He swiped only to see it pass through Ki who had turned and smirked at him. And after image, but how? Nar thought as he spun. Oh, you want to play with Kana. Very well. Attack me with intent to kill me. Let's see how good you are. Try and land a blow. Nar didn't need another invitation and lunged with the kunai. Ki moves aside with minimal twists of his torso or head. Naruto's moves are filled with anger, effort, and frustration, while Ki moves with minimal effort. Come now, boy. Can't you hit an old man? Ki taunts, and Nar doubles his efforts. Your ability is rather poor, Wee says as he strikes Nar in the chest with an open palm strike that sends him flying back against the temple wall. Nar clutches his chest and coughs up a wad of blood. He spits it into the dirt and glares at the old man, who laughs and strokes his beard. See you Ku. I've fought corpses who posed more of a challenge than you. Now get up and fight me, you damn demon spawn. Nar obliges and attacks with the fury of a wild animal. Ant. Oh it. Nar shakes his head, trying to rid the voice he's hearing in the back of his head as he continues to swing wildly with the kunai and adding kicks and punches with his free hand. Ki ducks and hops about dodging each attack and then leaps straight in the air. He lands on the edge of the kunai and Naruto's eyes widen in shock and at the kanana in his hand unable to believe what he is seeing. Ki smiles and looks down at Nar. From here, I would like to introduce you to my foot. Ki backflips off the kunai and kicks Naro in the face during midflip, sending him crashing into the nearby tree. Nar rises slower than before and looks on as Ki holds the dropped kunai in his hand, twirling it with ease that showed years of mastery. He stops it and throws it into the dirt at Naruto's feet, burying the blade to the handle. Do you yield or would you like to try again? Ki asks. Drop the attitude, sensei. Nar turns to see Micah carrying a pair of buckets on a pole over his shoulder. Mind your place and fetch water. This is between me and the boy, Ki said. Micah shook his head and made eye contact with Nar. The pair shared a long stare and Nar understood. He slowed his breathing. Slow, steady breaths. He closed his eyes and tried to calm himself. About damn time you calm down, Kit. Caillou, no. I'm the Viper. I'm here to vipe your windows. Yes, Caillou. Did the monk hit you in the head while I wasn't watching? No, no more than anyone else. What's up with him? Last night, this is a test kit. He's seeing what makes you tick, Kobe said. But why does he need to say those things? Why not just say, would you go all out if you weren't mad? Kobe asked. I didn't think so. Now, Kit, we need to work on this. Keep calm and use these moves. Nar blinked as the Kobe filled his mind with images. How the hell later Kit, I promise. Now, let's show this bedwearing fossil what the vessel of the Kobe no Kitsune is capable of. Nar straightened and took the stance that had Ki raise a whizzed eyebrow. Naruto was standing with his left leg forward, his torso turned a bit, his right arm back with his fist even with his hip. He brought his left hand up, palm facing Ki. Bring it on, old man, Nar said. Ki studied him a moment longer and nodded as if listening to his own voice. He came at Nar with several punches. Nar managed to dodge a few, but more of them hit him than he was able to block. Come on, Kit, like this, the Kobe said, and several more images slammed into his brain at the same time he was kicked in the face. Nar shook it off and caught Ki's leg. My turn, he said, spinning and tossing the old monk aside. Ki landed on his feet and with a flurry of palm strikes sent Nar crashing into the temple wall once more. I'm nearly a millennia old and you haven't even caused me to sweat, he says and kicks the canny off the ground and with a flick of his hand slaps it and it shatters. You're not going to make me mad again. Nar tells him. Ki raises an eyebrow. Okay, kid. Now try this. Kobe suggests and Naruto is in motion without realizing it and Ki stepped back. He dodged the first 6 attacks, but the spinning back fist he avoided left him open for the leaping roundhouse kick. Ki went flying and just managed to flip and land with his feet on the wall. Then with a flip, he landed on his feet. Nar was about to attack again when Ki held up a hand. Stop. Nar skidded to a halt and looked at the old man in surprise. What? Why? Nar asked. Ki motioned for him to sit and they once more sat under the tree and the old man once more had a cup of tea. Nar blinked, wondering where it has come from. I apologize for my harsh words, Naren. I did not mean to upset you, but I needed to gauge you honestly. Ki bowed his head. It's okay. Kobe told me. Ah, yes. It was after I kicked you into the tree. I saw the change. Does he speak with you often? Ki asked. Not really. Just in the last few days, actually, Naruto admitted. I see. Ki spoke. Naruto. While I can train you to be better, there is another path. One that the Kobe can show you. One that Micah, sit and join us. Is my water bin filled? Yeah, Micah said, dropping down next to Naruto with a grunt. How that should have taken all day, Nar said. Water jutsu, Micah said with a smirk. I multiplied the water that I carried up and there you have it. Micah then looked at Master Ki. You know you do have plumbing. But the spring water at the bottom of the mountain tastes so much better. Ki argued. That's a crock. Micah countered. Guys, Naruto said, trying to get them back on track, which freaked him out as he was the first to admit that he had zero attention span. Let them go, Kit, Caillou said in his mind. We have much to discuss. Okay. And what's this Kit stuff? Stupid old man. Perverted brat. Sigh. Perhaps we should find some place quiet. Konoha glared at Kakashi, who had gathered the Jonin and had come to her office. What is the meaning of this, Kakashi? She demanded. It's about you hiding Hinata's possession and allowing her to attack Sakura and Sasuke. The Onai John and Sadzunade's eyes glared at him and he took an involuntary step back. And by what right do you have spilling secrets? I thought I ordered you not to talk about it after our conversation leaving that room. Kakashi backed up even more. The conversation had been brief and one-sided. Flashback. What the hell happened to her? Kakashi asked after Shizune had taken Hinata away, leaving Suin to pick up Sakura and put her to bed. Hinata made a pact with a vengeance spirit. I have not yet found out what they bargained over, but I do know it has been working with her in punishing those who have done Naruto wrong. Looked at Kakashi. You wouldn't have done Nar any wrongs now, would you have, Hideki? She then looked at him hard. You will not discuss this with anyone, Kakashi. Hinata might be the one thing that brings Naruto back. End flashback. Well, Hideki Tsunade asked, her eyes narrowing. I thought the Jonin instructors had a right to know what is happening. Hinata is not your concern, Haki. Unless you have something you don't want known. Asked. Kurana stepped forward. But Hinata is my concern, Lady Tsunade. I was her guardian for many years. Her father, damn it to hell. She's a ninja of this village and she made a choice. One that could strengthen this village. Or wipe us from the face of the earth. Kakashi said, Lady Tsunade, how could you let this happen? Kurenai asked. Hinata made the pact herself. She was in here and had broken into the vault looking for the contract. She made the pact before I could even think of stopping her. It's done with, and we need to figure out how to get Naruto back. He is the reason and I hope the key to solving Hinata's affliction. You make it sound like she's caught a strange disease. Asuma said from where he stood. She's possessed. Kakashi said, we must exorcise the spirit. Laughed and stood up. She went to the shelf against the wall and her fingers danced over several old leather-bound books. She pulled a thick one and flipped it open to a bookmarked page. She dropped the book onto her desk and spun it so the gathered Jonin could see. Kurenai stepped forward, her red eyes scanning the page. The spirit of vengeance is a heavenly blessed spirit created by Lord Kami. It may only be used by a pure soul. Kurenai looked at the page a moment. A pact between the spirit of vengeance is bartered and once an accord is made, the spirit bonds with the summoner until the end of the summoner's life. Kurana looked at the Hokage. There is no way Hinata's death. And trust me when I say that it will be harder to kill her now that she's bonded with the spirit. Kurenai looked at the book. So she falls under its control whenever. No, she and the spirit work together. She is aware of everything. The spirit shares its experience and knowledge. And from what I've seen of its history, it has acquired some considerable knowledge. Looked at Kakashi. The last one to use the spirit was Kusha Uzumaki Namikaze, wife of Minato Namikaze, the Yandai Hokage, mother of Naruto Uzumaki. Her eyes hardened. The Jinchuriki of the Kobe no Kutsun, exiled nin of Konohagakure. She then smiled coldly. Tell me, Kakashi, do you have any sins against Naruto? Looked at Kakashi. The last one to use the spirit was Kusha Uzumaki Namikaze, wife of Minato Namikaze, the Yandai Hokage, mother of Naruto Uzumaki. Her eyes hardened. The Jinchuriki of the Kobe no Kutsun, exiled nin of Konohagakure. She then smiled coldly. Tell me, Kakashi, do you have any sins against Naruto? Now, Kakashi Hideki, former Ambu operative, Jonin instructor of Genin Team 7, former student of Minato Namikaze, the Sharingan Kakashi, the man who copied over 1,000 jutsu. Now he was Kakashi Hideki, having a panic attack. He'd returned from the meeting he'd set up in hopes of saving his students by forcing the Hogue's hand, and instead he'd ended up demoted. He was now a Genin. Kakashi Hideki was a Genin. Hades' punishment for him telling the Jonin about Hinata. Now he entered his apartment and was thinking of losing himself into his favorite novels. The door opened with but a nudge and that confused him as he'd locked it tightly when he'd left earlier in the day. He froze seeing a burned barrel in the middle of the room. A figure stood next to it. Hello Hideki H. Hinata. Kakashi felt his blood run cold. Words came back to haunt him. Tell me Kakashi. Do you have any sins against Naruto? 10 words. 10 words that he feared were coming back to haunt him. How was your meeting with Lady Sunshade? Hinata's voice chilled him. Learn something, Hideki. Your little plan to separate is not working. Hinata's possessed voice taunting him. We are one from now till the end. I could get even with you, but we feel that in the end, our pain would still pale in comparison to that of Naruto-kun's. Kakashi swallowed. Tell me Haki, you smell of fear and regret. I saw your memories when you stopped me from harming the Uchiha and I promised Lady Sunshade I would hold back on his judgment for now. But you Hideki, you I never gave such promise for. Kakashi started to sweat under his mask as he slipped into a defensive stance. He didn't know what his chances against the possessed Hyuga would be. Haha. Hinata laughed at him. There are other ways to gain vengeance, like instead of physical harm. Kakashi looked at the burned barrel and noticed his books piled inside. It was then he smelled gas. No, he whispered. Hinata dropped an explosive tag and shined away when it hit and the barrel full of books went up in flames. No. Kakashi's scream of terror could be heard all over Konoha. That is just the beginning, Hideki. That was for reading that trash when you should have been teaching Naruto-kun. Tomorrow we see what else your memories show me. Hideki, and with that the cold voice behind him vanished as Hinata shinshued away across town. Sunshade smiled as she put the viewing globe back on its pedestal and covered it with the cloth. She knew Hinata was slowly picking through the memories. It would take her days, even weeks, to go through all of Hideki's memories. She'd read the book, saying that as the spirit and the host blended together that the reading ability would become faster. Nade picked up a scroll with the swirl pattern that adorned many of Naruto's clothes. The Uzumaki Swirl. The scroll was Kasha Uzumaki's journal of her time from when she left her home village in Whirlpool and merged with the spirit of vengeance. Her joining Konoha during the war had earned her the name the Red Death. Yet only the Hokage and Yandami knew at the time. Naruto, come back safe. There is so much I need to tell you and to show you. Sunshade thought. She turned and saw Hinata appear out of the shadows. The girl's eyes were white once more and color in her skin had returned. You're getting better at that. The fifth Hokage said. Hi, Hinata said. There was a hint of exhaustion in her voice. Did you get any sleep? Hinata asked, approaching her and feeling her skin and checking her pulse. A bit, lady. I see a lot of the spirit's past memories. Lady Uzumaki's during the war are nodded. And your retention of the past skills. Hinata sighed. It is slow going. The spirit and I are spending more time looking over Hideki's memories. I feel there is something there concerning Naruto before he became his Jonin instructor. The white-eyed girl said. There was a knock on the door and both turned as Shun entered. Sorry to interrupt Lady Sunshade, but Hiashi Hyuga is here and he's demanding to see his daughter. Scowled. Tell Hiashi that Hinata is in the middle of special lessons and he will see her when she is done. Shizune sighed and closed the door behind her. Now, while you're here, Hinata, let's continue your lessons as a healer. Sunshade said with a smile to the girl who cared for her adopted little brother. By Kami, I will do everything I can to make sure they get together. Hinata will be good for Naruto and he for her. Thought as she pulled out a scroll. Anyo, why are you teaching me this? I'm a killer, Hinata said, looking down at the floor. No, you're not, snapped at the girl. You are a sweet, kind young woman. As the spirit said, you are a pure soul. I don't feel pure after what I've done. The council members I killed W. What I did to Sakura, you are going after those who have harmed Naruto. Sunshade sighed and sat on the edge of her desk. I won't lie to you, Hinata. It's a long list of those who deserve whatever you do to them. You and the spirit will be busy for some time. But I am looking to give you a life away from that. And when we have Naruto back, I want you to be more secure in yourself. To that end, I'm making you my apprentice. That means you will not be under the Hyuga Council's control, nor your father's. As my apprentice, I am the only one you need to answer to. Hinata looked at her in surprise. I'm not doing it only to protect you, Hinata. I'm being selfish. I see you and I know you can be the best better than me. The fact you care about Naruto is a plus. But he doesn't know. He just thinks I am a weird girl. Hinata stuttered out. He cares about Sakura and I attacked her. Sighed. You know what Sakura said and did to him after he brought the Uchiha back. I don't think he cares for her. I believe she destroyed whatever image he held of her. Now then, the door opened and Shizune could be heard yelling, you can't go in there. Hyuga stood in the doorway, his eyes filled with anger. Hinata, he said, his voice the same cold tone he'd always used in regards to his eldest daughter. Come here now, Key's mountaintop. Now, Kit, let's talk. The Kili said as he and Naruto sat in the boy's mind. Fine, I have a ton of questions and you have much to tell me. Let's do this, Naruto said. You want to know why I attacked Konoha all those years ago? The Kaiu said, and the fox in the cage sat on its hunches. I awoke in this world surrounded by a powerful sorcerer. He wanted to use my power for his own. I fought back and he cast some kind of spell that the end result left me little more than a berserker. I moved around and ended up in the borders of Konoha. I was attacked by ninja wearing the same symbol you wore on your headband. They were with the sorcerer as I recognized some of them. So I attacked. At the time I had very little control over my actions as it seemed that I was on pure instinct. They led me on a chase, stopping to attack when it looked like I would break the spell on me, angering me once more, and my anger fueled the spell I was under. Naruto listened as the Kobe said that the nin led him to the walls of Konoha where he was attacked by more nin. By then I was deep in rage and attacking all that crossed my path. They all wore the leaf symbol. I see now it was a ploy for me to destroy Konoha. But at the time I was out of control and it took the Hokage to separate my spirit from my body. So some mystic attacked you and you in turn attacked Konoha because they were wearing our symbol. Nar summarized. He scratched his head. Well, Konoha had many enemies, so it's possible they stole the headbands and made it look like it was us. I regret what I did all those years ago, Kit, but I now am angry because of what the villagers did to you. They treated you wrong. They attacked a child, and even amongst demons that is looked down upon. Children are precious, even to us, Kobe said. Why do you keep calling me Kit? Nar asked after several minutes of silence as Kobe allowed him to absorb his reason for attacking Konoha. Ha ha ha, I call you Kit for that's what you are a kid, a child, and at this Nar saw that the Kobe seemed nervous. What? He asked. I see you as my Kit. I had no maid nor kits of my own. And as I watched your life since awakening I see the pain I've caused you with just being in you and I want to make it right. I want to teach you all I know. I want to pass on all I have and was to you. I want to make you my heir. Nar was in shock. You don't need to say anything, Kit. Just so you know, Caillou said. They sat in silence for some time before Naruto spoke up. How were you able to talk with me while I was fighting Quioism? Since I've been awake, I've been working on opening paths of communication. This way, you didn't have to always come down here to see me. Kobe told him. Yeah, but couldn't you take over? Nar asked. No, Kit. I can enhance your senses. I can speak with you, but I can't control you. The seal prevents it, and I wouldn't do that even if I could. But the first time we met, you said, sigh. I know what I said, Kit. I was just woken and still shaking off the last of the spell the sorcerer cast on me. I was lashing out, and I apologize. I'm not the best of moods when woken roughly, and your appearance like that just hit me wrong. I'm so sorry for that, Caillou said. Now, you'll work with the Shaolin first to get yourself into shape. After that, I will start to teach you. Teach me what? To be a demon? Nar asked. Caillou laughed for a bit. Oh, no Kit. You might end up being a Hanyu in the end. A human-demon hybrid, but that won't be for a long time. No Kit. The Kobe no Kitsune will teach you to be the first Zoden in nearly 1,000 years. A what? Nar asked. A Zod Nin. Zoden were guardians of peace for thousands of years. They had the ability to use the Bunla. Caillou explained. Bu what? Nar was confused. Just worry about getting in proper shape. He won't teach you any enjutsus or genjutsus, but he will spend time with taijutsu and kenjutsu. Also asked him to work on etiquette, social and political. What? Why? And what is that boo stuff? Nar asked. A deep sigh. Bunla is a type of energy, life energy. It surrounds us, binds us. It's part of everything. You, me, this cage, the seal. It's part of the mountain, the air. Don't worry about it for now, Kit. Just get in shape first and then I'll begin your lessons. What about Mahamaru? Nar asked. I'll include him. He's strong as you in the Vanla. Tell Ki to work on a way for us to communicate. Tell him to look in the book of Ramu. Nar nodded. He wanted to know more about Bunla and Zoden. But he knew from the short time he'd spoken with Caillou that he wouldn't tell him till he was ready, and that meant getting himself in shape and his taijutsu fixed. Why, Kenjutsu? He asked. It will be part of your training for being a Zoden. Now go and start with the old monk. I'm going to rest and prepare for your lessons in the way of the Zot. Naruto nodded and felt his mind shift and he opened his eyes in the real world and saw a pair of golden eyes right before his own blue eyes. Gamakahamaru, who was using chakra to hang from a branch above Nar, fell on his head laughing at the expression of his friend's face. Nar clutched his chest and watched his childhood friend rolling on the ground laughing. So glad you find scaring me half to death so funny. Naruto grumbled. So sorry, bro, Micah said, calming himself and sitting up. So you and Kobe have a nice long chat? Micah asked. I think so. He told me why he attacked Konoha all those years ago and told me to work with Master Ki with my taijutsu and kenjutsu. Micah nodded. Old man figured that he's changing and says we'll be using the mornings to do exercises and afternoons to spar in Tai and Ken. Micah pointed to the wooden bakan laying between them. Caillou also said, once I'm in shape, he's taking over my training along with yours. Mine. Why? Micah asked. He says he's going to teach us in the ways of Zot. A crash had both turn and see Master Ki standing over a dropped tray. His wide eyes looking at Naru in shock. Master, you okay? Micah asked, hurrying to the old monk's side. I am fine. Ma-san. Master Ki looked at Nar. The Kalobi said he'd teach you the way of the Zoden. Yeah, Micah and me, Nar said. Ki looked shocked, a look Nar had seen on Saruti Oji's face once or twice when he'd surprised him. A legend of old, Ki muttered and looked at both young men. Well, if I am to prepare you both, then we will begin now. Oh, and Kalobi said something about you finding a way for him to communicate with us both. He said, look in the book of Ramos or something like that. Nar said, Ramu. Ki corrected. He stroked his beard and nodded. Now then, we'll start with laps, then calisthenics, sit-ups, push-ups, then tree climbing, and water walking. But Kyoji is in. That's Naruto started. After that, we'll start with the basics of swordsmanship. Tomorrow I'll add weight seals to you both. Every other day after that, you will run an obstacle course with double weight before lunch. The old man continued as he motioned for the boys to follow him. Nar looked and saw that the dropped tea was gone and the old man was moving with a purpose. Why do I have a feeling this is going to hurt? In the back of his mind, he could hear the Kobe laughing like mad. Nar jumped from branch to branch. The simulation chamber was awesome in his mind. It was a room that with several powerful spells could be made to look like anywhere and actually be interactive. Solid illusions and golems that with special heens on them could look like people. The months of long daily training were paying off. Nar felt physically stronger than ever before. His baby fat had melted off with the workouts and he found out about muscles he never knew about as they seized up on him. Master Ki was a taskmaster while training them. But after the day ended and they were gathered around for dinner and tea, the old man reminded him of Naruto Ojiism in so many ways. Nar found out that Ki was a pervert that read those damned orange books he'd seen Kakashi reading all the time. Trying to get them away from the old monk became an obsession for Nar, who Shanghai Makahamaru into helping him as well. The result was both boys turning it into training. That while they never managed to get the book, their attempts kept the old monk from reading them, except in the safety of his room. After that, Nar learned several taijutsu styles under Master Ki, who would actually explain moves to him and how to build new styles his own off those he was learning. Nar loved the kung fu style as a great starting point. And while Master Ki would use his speed to keep from getting hit, he only would flick or tap Naro when he did hit him. Micah Naruto was happy to see while better than him, still couldn't hit the Shaolin monk either. Naruto had taken to reading in Master Ki's library at night. He'd studied several Enjutsu scrolls and copied them with Ki's blessing. The old man told him he could copy them all if he wished, but Ki reminded him that Caillou didn't want him learning them right now. I know that, Nar responded, but for later. At night, Micah would sit out in Master Ki's garden playing a beautiful flute. Naruto asked him what the flute was made of. Dragon bone. Micah told him as he looked at the flute in his hands. Micah had told him of the wind dragon in his family tree. How Micah had gained abilities from being descended from the dragon. I heal quick. I have more stamina. My children, if I have any, will have my K-Jenk of the wind. Nar took it in and understood that should he have children, they would get one from the Kobe. He'd learned from Master Ki's library that all Kin originated from low-level demons. The Byakugan came from the eagles. The sharing he learned had come from a low-level demon, a winged monkey. Monkey see, monkey ducat, the Kalobi had said in the back of his mind. He'd learned that summons were low-level demons as they were called. Nar shook his head, leaping to another branch seconds before someone landed where he'd been seconds before, forcing him from his thoughts. He turned and saw Master Ki standing on the branch where he'd been holding his bakan, and Naruto knew he'd just managed to avoid getting hit if the crackling of lightning was any indication. The bakan sported lightning runes on them that would give a light shock upon contact. Light shock, my Nar thought. Master Ki's bakan can knock out Gamabunta with a tap. He thought as he studied the old man. Hey Kyojian, he greeted his teacher Naruto-san. The Shaolin monk said he was dressed as if for battle, and in ways taking on Micah and Naruto was a battle. You and Micah-san got separated by the log trap at the river. He said, "Hi, but we talked about meeting up further ahead, taking two different paths and weakening your chances," we said, bringing the Bakken up above his head with the tip pointing straight up. Nar swallowed. The old man was damn good at this. He knew in the past 3 months he'd gotten better, but not enough to win a drawn-out battle with the old man. The only time they even pushed him back was when they double-teamed him. "Hi, but then again, are you overconfident?" Oji isn't. Nar asked and leapt. His Bakan connected with the old monks and he landed on the branch, forcing chakra into his feet to stick to the branch. The past 3 months of control exercises had helped him greatly. He no longer struggled with it. Micah worked with him constantly that first month. Water walking and tree climbing, then fighting while using his feet to stick to the tree trunk. The falls had landed him in the water below. But it was a good and safe way to learn. The weight seals helped him build up strength and speed. Nar back flipped away from a Bakan swipe and landed. So he was off the trunk now and he leapt again. His Bakan striking keys 3 times. "Better Nar San," Ki said, and after blocking, he used an uppercut swipe. Nar managed to lean back, but Ki reminded him that he had feet as he swept Naruto's out from under him. Nar hit the branch and rolled off, falling several feet to the next one below. He landed in a crouch and looked up and managed to bring his Bakken up to block as Ki had followed him down with a downward slash. Nar could heard the lightning jutsus crackle as they impacted and light sparks arced along the wooden surfaces. Good, Ki said with a chuckle as he tried to hit Nar with a nerve strike with his free hand, but Nar blocked it and shoved the old man back. Ki smiled. "Yes, now attack me," he ordered. And Nar needed no prompting as he sent a flurry of strikes and lunges that actually had Ki take a step back. Yeah. Both looked up to see Micah descending like a hawk, his Bakan before him, and he swooped down, missing Ki by a hair's breadth. "Hey, Rudo," Micah said as he took his own stance on the side of the branch. The sword aimed at Ki in an overhead pose and his left hand before him. "About time you showed up," Nar said, taking his own stance with the Bakan pointed at the ground and near his left hip. Nar adjusted his footing. "What kept you?" "Ki Seni had left a few traps I had to work around," Micah said. Both boys looked at one another out of the corners of their eyes and Ki took his stance with his Bakan over his head pointing towards the sky. Without words, the three were in motion. The sound of the wooden Bakans laced with lightning clashed together. Nar led off while Micah feinted, then followed Naruto's attack a second later. The pair had discussed tactics and had practiced on Tuesdays when Master Ki would leave for his weekly shogi in the village using Naruto's cage bunchons to work on their teamwork. Micah blocked an attack from Ki and Naruto leapt over him to try a downward strike, but Ki moved and Nar missed. "Your teamwork is exceptional," Ki said as he blocked one then another attack and he kicked Micah back before flipping to a higher branch. "I am proud of you both. In 3 months of work, you two have become a great team." "The man we can't even hit," Naruto grumbled, using the space that Ki made to catch his breath. Wise had a millennia to master his skills kit. "I would be surprised if the Sannin could hit him." Kalobi said in his mind, "Well get him yet Nar." Micah panted next to him. The silver-haired teen had worked side by side with Nar since that first day. They reaffirmed their friendship and bonds, and Nar realized how much he had missed the golden-eyed youth. He realized what he had with Team 7 had been nothing but a pale shadow. "Scissor on 3, Micah said. Naruto nodded and prepared to move when Ki held up a hand. "We have visitors on the mountain," he said, his eyes unfocused. "Both of you go and wash up, you stink. Then come to the courtyard," Ki said and vanished. "I really need to learn how to do that," Nar grumbled, teleporting around his walking beat. Micah grunted and then smirked. "Hold on," he smirked and Nar felt the air surround them and they were lifted into the air. "Flying is cool, too," Nar said, and they yelled as they zipped away at a very fast pace, the air around them speeding them along. They found Master Ki speaking with an old man they recognized from their weekly trips to the village. They came out of nowhere. They took the women and children and took the crops. Ki looked over his shoulder at the 2 young men. "We've got to help them." Nar said. "Hi." Ki said, "Pack for a mission. Use the storage scrolls and be ready in 5 minutes." He told them both. Naruto and Micah wasted no time as they moved towards their rooms with speed that would have made a guy and his apprentice Rockley envious. Ki looked at the old man. "We will bring the women and children back, old friend," he assured him. "Thank you, Ki. I wouldn't ask, but most of the men are badly injured." The bandits came in quickly and without warning. Micah and Nar were back, both outfitted for a mission. "Master Ki," Nar asked. "The bandits are heading down river. I will be going to the village to heal those that need it. Your mission is to rescue the women and children and if possible bring the crops back as well." Both boys nodded. "Use these," Ki said and motioned. A pair of slender swords appeared in his hands. Micah took one and slung it over his shoulder. Nar took the other slowly and then at the old man. You both are ready for this. I believe in you both. Naruto slipped the strap over his head and shoulder. Pick up their trail outside the village and follow them, and boys. Both Micah and Naro paused at the temple entrance. No need for prisoners or survivors, we said. Nar swallowed. He hated the thought of killing, but Micah had pointed out to him that it was a part of a ninja's life. You don't have to like it, Nar, but you can't allow everyone you cross to live. A live enemy is a danger to you and all you hold precious. Nar nodded to Master Key in understanding and raced after Micah. Once they were near the edge of the mountaintop, Micah smirked and leapt off, the air surrounding him and carrying him along. Nar joined him and swallowed. Just don't drop me, he told his best friend. Never, Micah said, his gold eyes focusing on the ground below, and they reached the bottom of the mountain in no time and reached the decimated village in no time. They had no trouble finding the trail of the bandits, and they set off in a two-man pursuit position with Micah on point and Naruto to his right and a pace behind. Micah kept a hand on the sword on his back, his left hand free, and Naruto knew that there would be bloodshed. Kit, they harmed innocent women and children. They left a village in wreck, Kobe said in the back of his mind. This needs to be done. I know Q, but I still don't like the idea of killing. Wounding them is fine, and if they manage to find a skilled healer, they'll be back in action doing it again. Their kind never learns, Kit. Caillou said in the 3 months since he began learning from Ki, Kobe or Q, as Naruto, now called him, had become like an uncle to him. At night, Q would teach him fighting styles and chakra manipulations while not telling him more about Zoden, but just talking. They played Go in Naruto's head, and Naruto found that the fox had a sense of humor. They designed several pranks that could be used in battle as a distraction. Hugh had also taught Naro how to hide. A chameleon seal now allowed Naruto to blend in with his surroundings as if becoming invisible. Hugh also taught him how to conjure Kit fire. While it wouldn't burn, it could be used as a distraction or to outline a target. The purple and orange flames, while couldn't burn, did have heat to them. Nar spent many nights in his mind learning how to summon and conjure the Kit fire without hand signs and could now summon it ONW like a regular kitsune. We're doing this to protect women and children, Kit. The villagers at the mountain accepted you even when Ki told them what you contained. They are worthy of your protection, of our protection. Hi, Naruto muttered out loud while racing along. He saw Micah make a hand sign. The pair had started using their old sign language from when they were younger, and it worked great at being a ninja. Naruto slowed and they saw that the bandits were stopped ahead. Let's get him. Kobe's voice sounded in his mind. Ma looked on, his gold eyes scanning the clearing. They have minimal guards and no patrols. Micah hand signals spoke. Hugh says we get him, and Naruto's hands paused. If you wish, I will take care of them. You can wound, I'll end them. Ma hand signs told Nar, and his eyes led Naruto. He understood about his thoughts of killing. Number I need to do this. Naruto signed back. Okay, attack pattern Delta go low, I'll take high. Ma signed back, drawing the sword Ki had given him. Think Blade's sword. Nar pulled his own blade. Think Arwen's sword from Lauder and nodded at the slightly curved blade and saw there were runes on it but didn't understand them. Let's go, Micah whispered, and gathering the wind around him he was airborne. Nar tapped the chameleon seal he tattooed on the back of his wrist and vanished. A slight shimmer of the air was the only indication he'd moved. Think the Predator's cloaking ability if you need an image. The bandit camp wouldn't know what hit them. Hinata Hyuga walked down the streets of Konoha. In the last 3 months, the citizens had come to fear her. The ones that feared her were the ones who abused and attacked Naruto Uzumaki. And she made sure they knew why. She didn't kill them, crippled, maimed, and terrorized. On the other hand, she'd been very good at she and the spirit had sworn no executions without the consent of the Hokage. Hinata's eyes were white at this time, and she carried a basket filled with herbs and some food she'd picked up shopping that morning. In the last 3 months, she'd lived with Lady Tsunade and Shizune, and her confidence had grown, and she'd learned a lot from the Hokage and Shizune in the ways of the medical field. She'd also managed to avoid her father since he burst into the Hoga's office. Flashback. The door opened and Shizune could be heard yelling, "You can't go in there." Hi-Ash Hyuga stood in the doorway, his eyes filled with anger. Hinata, he said, his voice the same cold tone he'd always used in regards to his eldest daughter. Come here now. Hinata looked at her father, and before she could move, he was sent flying out of the room courtesy of a Tsunade chakra-powered punch. That is no way to speak to my apprentice, Hiyashi. And you were interrupting a very important lesson, Tsunade said and slammed the door behind him. End flashback. Hiyashi had over the last 3 months sent branch members to fetch her back, and each time they were beaten down by Shizune or Tsunade. Hinata stopped and checked a fruit stand. She smiled to the old woman. She remembered her as being nice enough to see fresh fruit to Naro over the years and charge him the fair price. Hinata and the Konoha 9 had given her all their business. The business that Hinata approved of got the Konoha 9's Team 10, Team 9 and Team 8 business along with their sensei. The Konoha 9. Hinata smiled remembering her encounter with her former classmates and Guy's team. The only ones not there were Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi. They asked about what she was doing. She told them in an even voice that she was enacting vengeance for Nara upon those who did him wrong, truly did him wrong. She told them of what she'd done to Sakura. She explained her vengeance upon the Uchiha was waiting till he woke. It was Kurana who asked what she had done to Kakashi. Hinata smiled to herself. Remember the last 3 months of vengeance on the copycat ninja. Flashback. After the book burning incident, Kakashi had become very paranoid around Hinata. He was jumpy every time she would come around a corner or he entered the Hogue's office and she was there. She always had a job for the newly demoted genin. Kakashi's jobs ranged from sweeping up the streets of Konoha after business hours, cleaning the local baths, mucking stalls at a nearby farm. Hinata had him chase Tora while wearing chakra blockers, forcing him to physically chase the Fire Lord's wife's cat. Hinata smiled, thinking of seeing the former Jonin twitch every time she spoke to him. Hinata paid for the fruit and turned to find her way blocked by her father and a pair of branch family members. "Hello Hiyashi," she said. Not one stutter, just a pause before she addressed him. "You are coming with me," he said. "No," Hinata said as she calmly put her basket aside. She looked at the vendor. "Will you please send a message to Lady Sununade and inform her that Hiyashi Hyuga is trying to kidnap her apprentice?" Hinata turned back to her father. "I've learned a lot while being the apprentice to the Hokage. Tell me, Hiyashi, you do know what being an apprentice means, don't you?" She could see the muscles in his jaw twitch as she backtalked him. "You will show me the respect I am due." He snarled at her. "Then I am showing you too much as is Hiyashi, for you were never a father to me. And as the Hogue's apprentice, I outrank you in position of importance in Konoha." Hiyashi's jaw muscles jumped more and his eyes narrowed at her. "Quit posturing. You are coming home this instant. You have responsibilities to the clan. I have responsibilities to Konoha and as Lady Sunade's apprentice," Hinata countered. "You will return to the compound and stand as the caged bird seal is placed upon you. You will then assume duties appropriate for someone as weak as you," scullery maid. The 2 branch members share to look behind Hiyashi's back. "Hanab has been named my heir. Good for Hanab. I'm sure she will continue to please you with her cold ways and selfish behavior that mirrors your own. And to think my mother loved you at one time. It is fortunate that she died in birth, for she would be ashamed how you and Hanab turned out." Hinata said her skin pad slightly bad, her eyes remained locked on Hiyashi. The head of the Hyuga clan sputtered in outrage at how his eldest daughter was talking to him. She wasn't the spineless girl he abused for years. She was different and he blamed the Hokage for it. "You will stand down and be sealed," Hiyashi said with a sneer. "No, Hiyashi. Hyuga," Hinata said. "I won't." Hinata slid into a relaxed Jukin stance, but Hiyashi raised an eyebrow. It wasn't the one taught amongst the main or branch family. He wasn't familiar with the hand placements and scoffed. "You can't even present a proper Jukin stance. You truly are weak." Hinata's skin took on a whiteness and her eyes flashed with the Byakugan. The veins appeared around her eyes, but what had he stepped back was her eyes. They were black. Pure black. So this is what the Hyuga have become since the days of Kenji and Hana. The cold voice from Hinata had Hiyashi look at the branch members. "Come great clan leader, show me what you can do against a pure Hyuga, trained in the style that fits her and not the bastardized gentle fist you assume as the end all of your clan. Well, it will be the end as I have seen this shell's memories and I find your lack of faith disturbing. Who are you? What have you done to my daughter?" Hai asked. The cold laugh that seemed to ricochet off the surrounding buildings chilled Hiyashi to the core. Across Konoha, a former Jonin turned Gen and shuddered as he weeded a garden. "I am Hinata and Hinata is me and I am vengeance elsewhere." Ha 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 ha. The portly bandit laughed as he watched his men fight over one of the girls they'd captured in that small village. "That's the ticket, boys. And if you can't share her, I'll take her for the night," more crowing as he looked over the campfire. "Hurry up with my dinner boy or I'll slit your throat," he told one of the prisoners that was wearing ankle chains and had been put to work preparing the bandit leader dinner. The gust of wind went ignored. Shame that around the camp a few centuries found themselves suffering from an intense case of death. The wind blades sliced through their necks and the air wrapped around them keeping them in place. A shimmering figure stepped along the camp, pausing and being lost if anyone had noticed it. Sadly, the bandits were too busy drinking and intimidating prisoners to realize that several of their number were dead and more were joining them. The caged wagon was guarded by 2 bandits and they found themselves dead. One by the air smothering him, the other one with a canny in his neck. The bodies were lowered to the ground and the air shimmered as Naruto appeared before the wagon, holding up a finger to his lips, telling the women and children to keep quiet as he picked up the keys and after unlocking the door started working on the chains around their ankles and wrists. Keep quiet, head that way, he pointed. All the guards that way are dead. He told one of the older women, but Genta and Ichi are with the bandits. One said, well get them. Nar said just get going. He told them, giving one of the women the crossbow a bandit had. Go, well catch up. I promise. One of the women nodded, and they herded the children the way Naruto suggested. The blonde looked up and saw Micah balanced on the top of the wagon's cage. So far, so good. Two left to rescue. You want me to? Micah signed. Nar shook his head. I'll get them out. You worry about the bandits. Micah smiled as they crept along the tents. Bandits found themselves dying from being stabbed or from the air slicing their throats or suffocating them. Once they looked at the center of the camp, Naruto nodded and made the hand signs. Cage bunch on. He roared and 100 Nar clones filled the area and went right after the bandits. Micah smirked as he used the air to lift himself into the air and saw the bandit leader grab the girl and boy he'd had serving him as shields. Bastard. The silver-haired youth thought as he sent several blades of wind into bandits and watched as they were sliced in half. Micah checked on Naruto and saw the blonde was lost in the sea of shadow clones. I really need to ask him how he does that. The bandit leader yelled at his men to protect him and kill the damned blonde. With a sword strike, he watched one go up in a puff of smoke. What the hell? He yelled. Clones, asshole. He turned and saw another blonde coming at him and he used a sword to swipe at him. The bandit staggered back and pulled the girl in front of him as a shield. Come any closer and the girl gets it. He warned the blonde. Nar narrowed his blue eyes. Behind him, he could hear the clones dealing with the bandits and knew Makahamaru was using his wind control to decimate the rest of the bandits that his clones had trouble with. How about you let the girl go and I promise you'll get buried in one piece. Nar said the Kobe in his head warning him to be careful. How about I don't and you give up or I slit her pretty little neck. Nar shook his head. He felt his clones disperse and knew that they had been successful. You're the last, Nar said. And you're outnumbered. What? Your clones. They're all gone, kid. Look up, Tam. A voice said, and the bandit turned and saw Micah standing on the air above him with his sword aimed at him. The girl stomped hard on the bandit leader's foot and ran as fast as the chains around her ankles would let her. The bandit leader howled as the girl and boy huddled off to the side. Nar stepped between the leader and the former captive and held his sword up in a two-handed grip. Micah lowered himself and had his sword aimed at the dirt at an angle before him. Tuan 1, the bandit leader said. Didn't stop you from attacking a peaceful village, Nar said. Or stealing their hard work. Micah continued. The bandit leader pulled a short sword out and glared at the two youths. My name is Toru Kalani. You punks won't beat me. Micah snorted. Want to bet? Nar shuffled his foot and focused his eyes on the two's grip and foot placement. Kit, he's a master. I've heard of him. Be careful, Kobe warned. I will cue. Just fix whatever he does. Nar thought. I can heal nearly anything, Kit, but don't lose a limb or your head. The Kobe warned. Micah shifted his foot and he brought his blade up to block the first blow from Toru, who seemed to move rather quickly despite his size. Naruto lunged and found the short sword blocking his attack. Tu chuckled as he attacked both boys, his swords flashing quickly, but he was surprised that the boys managed to block. One would block and the other would attack and they would alternate. He circled with them, his long sword arcing down, while his short sword blocked an attack from the silver-haired youth. Tuani was a skilled swordsman from Mist. He'd taught the sum of the 7 swordsmen before he left Mist in dishonor. He'd grown lazy and fat with his bandit army raiding villages over the years. He smirked and figured he could talk his way out of this. I'll admit, you killed my men, but how about you both join me? The 3 of us could build a whole new army. You'd be my lieutenants. We could rule the coast. Nar growled and lunged. Tu managed to block the sword swipe and tried to attack the blonde, but his other sword was blocking the silver-haired youth, and he got kicked hard in the chest, sending him several feet back. Both boys were attacking him before he finished rolling. He barely got his blades up to block the furious assault. You attacked men, women, and children. You were going to turn them into slaves. Micah growled, his golden orbs flashing. You were a disease upon humanity. Nar growled. The blades were a silver blur as they attacked from various angles. Tu was sweating. He'd allowed his skills to decline over the years and was now cursing himself. In his prime, he could have taken them, but these two were working like a well-oiled team, and they forced him back with each attack. Toro ducked and spun despite his size, and he sent a flurry of swipes and strikes with a master's ease. He managed to get himself some breathing room. He saw a pair of his men coming up behind the two boys and grinned. I'm sorry. If you will not join me, then you will be destroyed. 2 said as the 2 bandits attacked. Micah spun and blocked one and Naruto ducked and rolled. 2 laughed as it was 3-on-2 now and they were trying to force the 2 boys back. One of the bandits was using a pair of kamas while the other used a pair of wicked-looking long daggers. The blades were shaped like waves. The 3 bandits worked hard, but Nar and Micah were used to actually fighting as a team. While the bandits were used to attacking in large groups, Nar blocked the kamas, and Micah used his wind to push the bandit back. Both boys ducked back as the dagger wielder lunged in, his arms pinwheeling, trying to hit them. 2 was using the time to occasionally attack, but would duck back and let the 2 thugs of his crew attack. Makahamaru groaned. He was focusing on his sword work and couldn't get the wind to respond right. Master Key says I need to focus but can't right now. That's my big weakness. I should have kept back and in the air. Nar was cursing the Kama user and he blocked one only to have the other slice across his stomach, shredding his shirt and grazing the skin. Watch it, Kit. This one is skilled. We can't back off or the kids behind you will get taken again. I know. Damn it. We need some space. Naruto thought. 2 chuckled as he circled the fight now. Miz and Mori were worth their cut, and he'd make them his top lieutenants when they rebuilt the group. He looked at the corpses of the bandits the pair had killed before attacking him. They do have some skill. Shame they have to die here. He watched as the blonde did a backflip and kicked my back. He made a hand sign, and there were 6 of him now. Clones. He's a virtual one-man army, 2 thought as he turned his gaze to watch the silver-haired youth. He's got some weird power over air. Miz better watch out or he's going to wind up dead. 2 made a decision and slipped away. Cut my losses for now. Rebuild my group and work on the coastal towns again. I knew coming near the elemental villages would be bad news. As the slightly pudgy bandit leader slipped away, he knew he'd spared himself and he vowed not to come this way again. Micah ducked and Nar or one of his clones rolled across his back and hit the dagger wielder with a roundhouse kick. Micah slipped around and saw himself flanked by 3 clones of Naruto who were attacking the dagger wielder with kana. Micah looked over and saw Naruto and 3 of his clones wearing down the kama wielder. Micah nodded and stabbed the sword into the dirt before focusing his will upon the air. He puffed his hands near his right hip, his left hand over the right, a swirling vortex of chakra-enhanced air could be seen forming. Think DBZ's Kaha Maha. He felt the air build up and he narrowed his eyes thinking what the bandits did to the village that his sensei visited. The women and children they were going to sell to slavery or worse. The ball of chakra-enhanced air swirled faster and increased in size. Nar, meanwhile, had created another pair of cage bunchons and was making a ringan. His sword was sheathed over his shoulder. Both boys unleashed their attacks at the same time. The resulting explosion, well, let's just say that there wasn't anything left of M's or my bigger than an exploding tag. Nar looked at the remains, turned around, and threw up on a clone that made a revolted look before dispersing and returning the memory to Nar, who threw up again. Micah was on one knee, gasping for air. He'd put too much into that attack and he knew it. His gold eyes scanned around for the missing bandit leader, but he couldn't find him. Damn, he got away, he thought. His eyes rested on the boy and girl they rescued and nodded. The pair raced up to them, the boy stopping near a heaving Naruto while the girl stopped several paces away from Micah. Can we go home? She asked. Micah nodded his head wearily. Let's get those irons off, he said, pulling a lockpick from his belt. He remembered the old days when he and Naruto would borrow from shops in Konoha. They had intent to return what they borrowed eventually. He was sure it was on their list to do someday. Maybe when Nar makes Hokage. Yeah, that sounds good. Micah thought as he slowly picked the lock first on the wrist chains and then the ones on the ankles. Naruto was recovering and listened as the young boy who couldn't be older than 6 or 7 described the battle with enthusiasm that Nar remembered once having when he first announced he was going to be Hokage. Why do I feel so old all of a sudden? Killing does it, Kit? It ages one. Not physically but mentally and spiritually. You killed him and you were looking right in his eyes when you rammed that renin into his chest. You powered it and Kit, I wish I could claim it was me, but it was all you there. Kalubi said, and Nar could hear the regret in the fox demon's voice. I know, Q. I know, Nar said, and he looked at the boy who was still talking. The kid's hairstyle reminded him of a Hyuga, but the kid was a farmer, and he was tanned, and his gray eyes were eager. Let's get you home, Nar said, standing up and picking the kid up and walking him over to Micah to get the chains removed. You okay, Kit? Caillou asked. No, but I will be, Naruto said as he looked at his silver-haired friend. The pair shared a look, and they both understood without words. The 2 branch members were put down with single strikes. Their limp bodies crashed into a vendor's stall. Incidentally, this was a vendor that threatened Naruto with a butcher knife several times when he was looking for food. The stall was shattered and dogs raced in and stole the meat as it hit the ground. The merchant screamed at the animals, but most people were watching the Hyuga drama that was being shown to them all. Surrender, Hiyashi, and you'll walk out of here with your life. Vengeance, Hinata said. The girl's skin was now bone white, and her hair had taken on a blackness as had her Byakugan eyes. Demon, I will exorcise you from my daughter and then punish her for the disrespect she has shown the family. Hai snarled, entering his own Juken stance. See you think that you can stand up to us. Vengeance. Hinata asked an eyebrow. We have been trained by the god Hokage herself. You have been wasting away kissing the of a council that killed your wife and turned you against your children. How dare you? Hayashi ranted. I dare a lot, fool. I have seen this shell's life. I watched everything and things she might not have noticed. I have. Villagers were backing away as the killing intent in the air seemed to thicken. Today, the village was seeing Hinata, the chosen shell, for the spirit of vengeance. Today, secrets were going to come out, and sadly, Laundry Day looked like it was going to be hell. Many of the villagers realized that they were screwed. The ones that had nothing to worry about cheered the young Hyuga on. Across a Jonan turned, Genin shuddered. I sense a disturbance in the force, he muttered as he shook the chill from his spine and returned to his D-rank mission for the day. Atop several buildings masked Anbu watched. They had been ordered by the Hokage to watch only. They were not to interfere with Hinata unless she was losing. A purple-haired Anu watched as the Hyuga head in the air circled. Hayashi is a fool. Can't he see that the style Hinata is using is stronger? Apparently not. As Hiyashi attacked, thinking his daughter was still the same stuttering girl he used to intimidate. Hinata's chakra spike sliced into Hiyashi's palm and he screamed in pain as he saw a hole through his hand. What's the matter, daddy? Did that hurt? Vengeance. Hinata asked mockingly. It's amazing what one can learn when trained in a proper style that's fit for them. Hinata's next 3 strikes had Hiyashi on his knees, his wounded hand clutched to his torso that was bruised, his shirt torn from where Hinata had struck him. All could see the pale skin purpling from the blows. Several figures appeared at the end of the street. The Konoha Hanyon had arrived and they were seeing Hinata in a whole new light. What's going on over there? Ino asked as she was walking with the others. Who knows? It's too troublesome to worry about. Guess who? Nei paused, his Bakugan activated. He'd been dragged along by his teammates, no one noticing how quickly he'd given into his eyes widened. Hinata, what about your cousin? Ten asked from where she had an arm loop through his and leaves. She'd told the others that it was to keep both boys from bolting. She's fighting Hiyashi-sama. Neji seemed to choke on that and Ino grabbed Shikamaru and Choji and pulled them along. Ka and Shino who'd been with them followed. Akamaru winded as they got closer. What's wrong with Yo-Wo? Ka's question to his partner was silenced as they watched Hinata put the 2 branch members down with 1 strike each. When did Hinata get that good? Nei's eyes watched and widened even more when she struck Hiyashi. She's different. Most of them had seen Hinata in passing her for a quick lunch. But as the apprentice to the Hokage, they'd not really seen her. Yash. Her fires burned brightly. Lee yelled watching as the once timid girl struck Hiyashi 3 more times. Neji winced as his Byakugan saw the damage those blows were doing. He'd been warned by Gai-sensei about provoking Hinata. He wouldn't. He'd been on good terms with his cousin since his defeat at the hands of Naruto during the Chunin exams. But he saw why Gai seemed worried. Team 9 had been worried about their sensei over the last few months. He hadn't been his usual self. The Konoha looked on as Hinata spoke to Hiyashi. They were too far back to hear what was being said, but they could feel the killing intent from Hinata from where they were. Akamaru whimpered and borrowed into Ka's jacket. The Inuzuka looked on. She's different. Akamaru says the vibes from Hinata remind him of that G-kid from Suna. Shino was silent, but his bugs were telling him that Hinata was the same in many ways, but there was an aura of power that wasn't there before. Shoji ate a couple of chips, his eyes watching the once timid girl trounce her father, who they knew used to verbally abuse her at every opportunity. Shikamaru sighed and muttered a troublesome, but his eyes were taking in the information and he was compiling questions to ask the Hokage. He was tuning in, it was his responsibility. Being responsible is such a drag. Shikamaru thought as Ino stood there wide-eyed. The 8 of the 9 watched their last member and knew that she was different and they were worried what it meant. Amazing. Hi, I thought you wanted this shell to be stronger. But I see that was a lie. You were never pleased with any success she had. You always beat her down mentally, verbally, and then you used your other daughter and the branch members to do it physically. Vengeance, Hinata said, as she ducked under a wild strike from Hiyashi, and she lashed out, hitting his arm 3 times. The once regal-looking robes he wore now were hanging on by threads as her chakra-powered strikes tore them from him and left the skin underneath blackened by bruises. When Narutkin comes back, we shall change the Hyuga for the better. I'll kill that damn demon before I let him touch you. Hayashi said. You could hear a pin drop in Konoha. At the end of the street, Neji winced. He'd read Hinata and Hiyashi's lips and knew that was the worst thing his uncle could have said to Hinata. Ten felt him tense and leaned in. What happened? She whispered in his ear. Hai threatened to kill Naruto after Hinata informed him that she and Naruto would change the Hyuga for the better. He has just sealed his fate. The Haga male said and looked on as Lee put a hand on his shoulder and Tenten tightened her grip on both of them. Back with Hinata, she stepped back and her black eyes seemed to blaze with passion. Her cold voice became even colder as her hand lashed out and she grabbed Hiyashi and her hand split out over his temple and face. Think Vulcan mind meld. So many secrets. Hayashi, she said you knew the Kobe was coming. You had branch members there attacking it. Danzo or Akimaru who is the one in the robes? Hiyashi sorcerer. Hinata's eyes became lidded and she pushed power into her search. Hiyashi went to his knees in pain as his daughter possessed by vengeance dug through his mind faster than a Yamanaka. Power. You stupid fool. You betrayed Konoha for power and covered it up. The Hyuga Council knew. Mother. Hinata broke contact and staggered back. You monster. Hinata's skin became flushed and her eyes flickered between white and black. You killed Mother. You had her killed to hide your dirty secrets. Vengeance. Hinata said, the black eyes becoming darker and veins around the eyes hardening even more. You are responsible for Naruto-Kan's pain. You had branch members tell the villagers about Naruto being the gentry of the Kobe. You told merchants to refuse him service and paid them for it. You call him demon and monster. It is you who are the monster Hiyashi Hyuga. I see it all now. The Hyuga clan are a disease. I see now why Itachi did what he did. You and Fugukuwa wanted him to assassinate Naruto-kun. He refused and Fuguku ordered his death. It backfired and Itachi killed his clan to protect Naruto-kun from them. Gasps were heard around the street. The Piper was coming and it was payday. Vengeance. Hinata's eyes looked around, her black Byakugan eyes landing upon Ne Hanab and the branch members along with Minami-chan of the main house and go to the Hokage Tower. Her eyes went to Hiyashi who was still on his knees. Hell is coming. Hiyashi. A cleansing of the Hyuga is the only way I see. The corruption runs deep into the old generation. It is time to be a phoenix and the Hyuga rise from the ashes of your death and no, Hishi said through the pain. His eyes scanned the crowd and saw the Anbu watching. KK kill her. Shish broke the third's law. He said. The cat masked and held up a hand and shook her hand. As the Hoga apprentice she can speak about it, Hyuga Sani looked around for a way to escape. His head turned back towards Hinata as her hand slammed into his forehead. People watched in shock as the back of his head blew off and his brain slammed into the street, severed from the spinal column cleanly by the chakra strike from Hinata. Vengeance served. She went and picked up her basket as if nothing had happened. She walked towards the end of the street where the other rookies were frozen in place. Neji and his team having left after Hinata gave her instructions. Hinata paused and looked over her shoulder, her skin color returning to normal and her eyes a gray now. Consider your actions. This is your one and only warning. You must treat Naruto again, and what I've done to Hiyashi will seem like a Midsummer Night's Dream. Hinata looked at the rookies and sighed. Anyo, I suppose I have some explaining to do. When they said nothing but stared at her, she sighed. Let me drop these off at my apartment and deal with my claw with the Hyugas. But you're a Haug, Ino said, breaking out of her shock. No, I haven't been for some time. But maybe someday I will be someone else. Maybe someday I'll be an Uzumaki Kazama, Hinata thought, and she could hear the agreement of the vengeance spirit in the back of her mind. As she walked away from the remains of her father, already planning what to do with the main branch of the Hyugas, who mistreated Naruto and betrayed Konoha, the remaining rookies looked from the brainless corpse of Hiyashi. As he knelt there, the back of his head blown out. They wondered what had happened to the sweet stuttering girl they all knew. It was Shino who turned and followed his teammate without a word, the others taking a bit of time to catch up. Naruto Uzumaki had changed in the 15 months since his exile from Konoha. He'd put on some wiry muscle mass. His features had become more slender, his hair longer, and was now tied back in a ponytail. His features had a hint of the fox as his ears now had slight points to them. His whisker marks were deeper and his canine teeth were a bit longer. He'd even allowed Micah to add black highlights to his hair one night when they were bored while Master Key was off playing shogi. Since the day of fighting the bandits, Naruto spent more time training. His mental capacity increased as he learned through meditation and the use of cage buncheons. He'd originally planned on having a 100 clones read Master Key's library till Q scolded him. Flashback Kit. That's not a good idea. Your mind is a mess. Till you clean up in here, I wouldn't do that. Well, how the hell do I do that? Q. Nar said he was once more outside the seal and he looked around the sewer. That was his mindscape. There are techniques I will teach you. They will help you when I start teaching you the way of the Zoden later on. Caillou said, you ever going to tell me more about that? Nar asked as he got comfortable in a lotus position. When you're ready, you can't run before you learn to walk, Kit. Your time with Kai has done wonders for your Kenjutsu and Taijutsu. Your work with the Dragon Hanyu has cleaned up years of neglect on your chakra control. Would you stop calling Micah a Hanyu? He's not a demon, Nar said. Snort Kit. He's at least 1/4 demon blood in his veins. He may be several generations down, but it's there just like that freak that worked for the Snake Temp. Kabuto, the one that nearly killed you and your adopted granny. Naruto remembered that battle. The chakra strike to his heart had nearly killed him if not for Sanat determination and Kobe pushing a large amount of chakra into the wound to form a chakra bandage until was able to save him. Now, once we organize your thoughts, I'm going to teach you an ancient form of protection to shield your mind from nin like that Yamanaka from Ino. Why? Other than the obvious, Nar asked, Kit, there are beings out there that are strong. Sigh. They have abilities that make some of the stuff you ninja look like idiots for going about it the hard way. Caillou said, now, to clear your mind. End flashback. Once his mind had been cleaned and organized, he'd learned how to alter his mental landscape. It no longer was a sewer. Instead, it was the streets of Konoha and surrounding forest. The Kobe's cage was gone as well. Instead, the fox was allowed to roam, but the seal was now a collar around the fox's neck, the seal etched into the metal band. Naruto's use of cage bunchons to learn was only 3 at a time, and he'd dispel them an hour apart to prevent himself from a mental overload. He would then spend 3 hours in meditation with Kalubi organizing them and putting them in mental scrolls in the center of his mind, the Hokage Tower, which he'd added runes to in case anyone got through the mental maze and traps he designed. And if they get past Q on top of that, Naruto thought with a chuckle. Caillou agreed to help protect his mind should someone get past the traps and maze. Another thing to change was Naruto's wardrobe. Micah with help of several of the villagers managed to get Naruto a new look and burn his old clothes. Naruto had to laugh remembering how his friend had done it. Flashback. Come on, Ruto. A soak in the springs will ease up those muscles and we can meet Master Key in the village before the harvest celebration begins. So Naruto stripped down to his boxers, slipped into the hot spring they'd found on the east side of the mountain. He was relaxing and was just about to put his head back when he saw his clothes floating on the air. He turned and saw Micah smirk before the clothes went flying away and into the arms of several of the village youths. Hey! Nar cried out, standing up to give chase, only to have a gust of air slam into him and knock him over. By the time he'd emerged from the air-assisted dunking, the kids were gone with his clothes. Damn it, Micah. Naruto rounded to find his friend standing away from the spring with a box hovering in the air. Enough is enough. It's time for a change, Micah said. Master Key can get away wearing orange. He never leaves the mountain. You, however, stand out like a pervert at Anson during Women's Day. Nar growled and Micah growled right back. The villagers got together and made you these, he said, putting the clothes down. Naruto, still in the water, untied the string around the box and opened it. There were brand new pants with orange stripe down the sides of the legs. He saw the pants had numerous pockets. There were new shirts, long and short sleeve, and Naruto smiled that while they were black, there were orange tiger stripes around the ribs. There were also new boots and fingerless gloves with metal plates on the back of the knuckles. And this is from me, Micah said, drawing his attention. Hanging from a branch was a brand new jacket. It was a rust orange that was dark and on the back was the symbol for the fox merged with the spiral design of the Uzumaki clan. Nar looked at him speechless. He was unsure how to express his thanks and he swallowed the lump in his throat. They accept you kid and those clothes are better than that orange monstrosity you wore. Hugh added his to Rio. End flashback. Nar shook his head and looked over his shoulder. Micah too had changed a bit. His hair was longer and his face was a bit more angular. Right now he was playing on his dragon bone flute. His eyes closed as the melody washed over him and filled the air with its calming tunes. Over the past 15 months, the pair had learned a lot about sword techniques from Master Key. And while they couldn't beat him, they could force him back and push to a draw as long as they worked together. Naruto felt at peace. And of course, it was when he was at peace that it seemed Kami-like to shake up his life. Naruto-san. He turned to see Master Key coming towards him, a scroll in his hand. I need to discuss things with you and Mayan. First, I have found something that will allow Q out of the seal so he may begin his teachings. However, it is not without cost. Naruto looked at the Shaolin and waited. It would cost you and Micah-san something. The melody of the flute stopped and Micah rose from where he'd been sitting under the tree in Master Key's garden and he approached. What would it cost exactly? Micah asked. For Nar, it would cost him some chakra. Master Ki said, and both boys exchanged a glance. Well, that don't sound too bad. Nar said, I have a lot of that indeed. Nearly limitless now. Ki agreed. His wise eyes then turned towards Micah. For you. However, the cost would be much greater. Yukik Jenk, the blood fire you got from your father. In order to use this spell, it would be sacrificed as the main payment. Nar swallowed and looked at Micah. Don't. Well, find another way, he said to his silver-haired friend. Or we won't, Micah said in thought. Was that all you were able to find in the Book of Ramu? He asked their mentor. Hi, the only other option would be Sai. It would take sacrificing a large group of people to perform a temporal jump. That isn't very precise or described. The author warned that it could result in the user's death. Nar shook his head. I'll do it, Micah said. Nani. Nar spun and looked at his friend. Why? Micah looked at him. Kobe has much to teach you and me. If it costs me a keek jank that I could care less about, then so be it. I still have my bloodline from my mother's side. I'm more comfortable with that. Micah told him, his golden eyes fixing on Nar, begging him to let him do this to help. Nar looked at Ki. What will this do to Khan? He asked the Shaolin monk. He will still be in you, but he will be able to be summoned out as a shade. Ki explained, while he is out, you will be sharing your chakra with him. Master Ki explained. Q, what do you think? Nar asked, Kid, if this works. I've seen what shades can do and I won't need chakra once I'm out. I should be able to use Bunla, so I won't put a drain on you. And you will explain Zodnans and Bunla in better detail, right? Nar asked. Of course, Kit, to both you and the young dragon Han Yu. Caillou said, stop calling him a Han Yu, please. Very well, Kit. Thank Micah for his sacrifice and tell Ki. Well, do this as soon as he's ready. Master Ki, Naruto said, getting the monk's attention. Hugh says, we can begin whenever you're ready. He then looked at Micah and he says, thank you for the sacrifice of your Kakei Jenk. Micah shrugged. It helps us both in the end. Nar nodded. You know, in Konoha, they would throw a fit if they heard about losing a bloodline like that. Well, it's a good thing only you and the old man knew about it before I left then. Micah said. He turned back to Master Ki. What will we need to do? Konoha Sununade sighed as she read over the reports from the border patrol. In the past year, bandit sightings have dropped in reports that small villages had found someone to protect them. One of the reports sounded like it was Nar and some kid with silver hair. She thought as she looked over another scroll. Shizune, she called out, and her brunette apprentice came in with a stack of files. You have a meeting this morning with the new village council and your afternoon session with the remaining Hyuga members with Jera in the alteration of the caged bird seal. She said, yes. Where's that report from the hunter Nins? Why haven't they caught Danzo or his rude members yet? Shizune sighed. They went to ground. Reports came in that Danzo was seen in Odagar. We sent in an assassination squad, but they never reported back. Shizune said as she shuffled folders. Nad sighed. Any sign of Naruto by any of the patrols or teams on missions? She asked as it had become her daily ritual since the blonde's exile 15 months ago. Sorry, no, Shizune said sadly. Sununade looked at the file before her. There were less than 20 members of the Hyuga clan left. Hanab, while recognized as the heir, now deferred judgment to a pair of branch members, Cho Hyuga and Lee Suhaga. The two older women advised the young girl, and so far the Hyuga were recovering. Hinata had removed herself from her clan after that day, the day she rained vengeance down upon her clan for what they'd done. Inu had waited outside the compound and killed those that tried to escape. The ones that Ne had removed were the only Hyuga left alive after that day. The altered seal, it blocks the theft of the Bakugan, but it can't be used for punishment anymore. Jiraiya had told her after he'd made the alterations to Neji's seal first under the watchful eyes of Hinata that day. Sununade shook her head. Jiraiya's recovered from Hinata's vengeance. Then she asked her assistant and friend. Hi. The paralysis wore off and he's able to gather chakra once more. Tsunade had been furious when she learned that Jiraiya's teaching method. Sadly, Hinata had heard her yelling and once she touched Jiraiya and saw it, she'd unloaded on him. Where is Hinata this morning? She asked. Shizune smirked. I think a scream from across the village could be heard. And Shizune continued as if nothing had happened. She's working with a genin about reading in public. Aide smirked. Over the past year, Hinata had gone out of her way to make Kakashi Hideki's life a living hell. On top of burning his collection of prized Ica books, Hinata would as the Hogue's apprentice pick a sparring partner. Kakashi had lost the use of his sharing in the first spar. Sununade had been able to replace the damaged eye with a normal brown eye. Hinata seemed to pick up Naruto's pranking habits as Kakashi would appear around the village after a resulting explosion. One time his hair looked like a rainbow. Another time his clothes were dyed neon pink and no one would sell clothes to him. His mask had been taken and Kakashi had spent weeks running away of village women and several shinobi chased after him asking for dates, marriage, or just outright. Someone had spiked Kakashi's food with peanut butter and he'd broken out in a bodywide rash. Someone, guess who, had checked his medial records and found out he was allergic to peanut butter. Wonder what she's done to him this time, Shizune said as she continued to sort files. It's taking her a lot of time to go through his memories. He had a memory block on him for his time as an Ambu and she's slowly chipping away at it. Sununade said, and I think she mentioned something about his summons needing a workout. In the distance they could hear a lot of dogs barking. How does she do that? Shizune wondered. No, not there. Not there. Pakuunn shook her head. I think she promised Pakyun steak dinner. As for how she deals with the summons, I think that's part of the spirit's domain. I've seen her with my slugs and Jiraiya's toads on several occasions, and I didn't summon them, nor show her how. I checked the contract, and she isn't listed either. The pair worked on the pile of paperwork. You know, if I didn't know better, I'd say paperwork is a curse of some kind. It never goes away, and it always multiplies. Sununade said. Shizune smiled. Since Hinata had become Sununade's apprentice, the Hokage had become more lighthearted and drank less. She looked out the window and said a silent prayer. Kami, please bring Narokan back. If not for Lady Sununade, then for Hinata. She's becoming more a beautiful young woman and she's doing it for him. Port. I'm sorry, Lady Sununade, I must have zoned out. What was that? Shizune asked looking embarrassed. I asked for the medical report on Sakura. Shizune nodded and looked through her stack. Eniki says that she's finally responding to treatments, but it's slow going. He's going to walk her through her life, and it will take time as they put her mind back together after Hinata's penance stare. Sununade sighed, tell him to keep on it. We'll see if we can recover her, but she backslides. Then next time she pisses off Hinata over Naruto, I won't be looking for ways to help her. She's lucky she was left alive, Shizune said. Oh, reports also on Sasuke. There was a spike in brain activity recently. Glared. Post a pair of Ambu outside his room. If that little underscore wakes up, I plan on putting him on trial for that abandoning the village stunt he pulled. Sununade looked out the window for a moment. Are you going to do something about the borders near Odo and Iowa? We'll discuss that in council. Have Shikamaru come up with some tactics and you are meeting with the kunoichi from Suna? Shun asked. Sununade sighed. Gar's sister. She made a note on a scroll herself. Have her speak with Shikamaru. They seem to get along well. Sununade thought as she looked at the stack of paperwork on her desk. Did this pile get bigger when I blinked? She asked Shun, who looked at it and scratched her cheek and wondered the same thing. Makamaru Melisu and Naruto Uzumaki sat back to back in the middle of a 6-point star circle. Runes were painted onto the stone floor and on their bare torsos. Master Ki was finishing up putting symbols on Naruto's face and was arching the rune towards his back where he continued it on Mika's neck and face. This is taking forever, Nar complained. The beginning of the spell is alchemy. It's a lost science from generations past. Some of which has been rediscovered, but the true mastery of it was lost in wars long ago. Ki said as he continued to draw designs on the boys, his feet deftly stepping over the painted lines and runes on the floor. And hold still, he admonished Naruto, who was about to scratch his nose, but the Shaolin slapped his hand. Don't smear those or I'll have to wash you down and start over from the beginning. My butt fell asleep, Nar complained. Hey, Micah, how you doing? Nar asked. A soft snore was his only answer. You bastard. Wake up. Micah snorted and opened his eyes. We ready yet? He asked, yawning. He pulled the brush back and glared at the pair before him. No, stop moving and no talking. This is delicate work and a single designed wrong could kill you. Or worse. You never mentioned worse quioichism. Nar said, I did. You were just too busy picking your nose. Remind Lord Kobe that you both will feel pain during the process. Hey Q, I heard him the first time. Kit, meditate like your friend. Ma wasn't meditating, he was sleeping. Nar countered. Or he meditated so deep it looked like he was asleep. The Kili said and Nar could hear the chuckle in the demon fox's voice. I'm surrounded by temps and perverts. Nar mentally pouted. Since he'd been there, he learned Master Ki enjoyed reading those orange books. But at least he now only did it in his room since Micah and Naruto tried to get it away from him for reading it in the garden. Nar also learned Hugh was a pervert and tried to get Naro to look for a decent mate. Nar threatened to put him in a pink collar and seal him in a room with disgusting childish things he'd seen other kids with when he was growing up. So far that kept Q silent. It was Micah that surprised him. His best friend when they went to the village was always surrounded by older women who asked him to play his flute. It was during that time that Naruto found out while he played Mika would use his wind affinity to have the air massage the women. Got to admit he knows how to get them worked up. Kobe said, stop. I can't believe he was doing that. Nar griped. Kit, they enjoyed it and it also helped him learn control. Kobe snickered. Remember the baker's wife. Nar scowled. Oh, don't be like that Kit. Her moans were something, and she looked ravishing, biting her lip while surrounded by the other women trying to keep quiet. Nar shook his head. Hugh and Ma had given him a talk about Micah using a scroll from Master Key's vast library and explaining how they should wait until at least 16. Hugh, on the other hand, was pushing information on how to attract a mate, how to please her, and how to bring her to multiple orgasms. Henty Fox Arrow Naruto thought and proud of it. Kalubi answered say kid if you write to the toad pervert see if he'll send you his complete works. From what I've seen of the ones Key has Arrow Fox. Nar yelled out loud and Key paused in mid-brush stroke and looked at Nar. Micah chuckled as he knew what was going on as Nar had shared everything with him about the fox, asking for Ika. Ika again, Micah asked, his voice low, a hint of a laugh in it. Damn pervy Kobe. Nar mumbled and Key raised an eyebrow, then chuckled. Nar sulked. Perverts surrounded by perverts, he muttered. Micah laughed outright. Bro, everyone's a pervert on some level. Even you. Nar would have jumped up, but the glare from Key kept him in his place if barely. Nearly done with the preparations, boys, he told them. Naruto sighed. He'd thought about sending a message to Jiraiya several times and some of his friends back in Konoha, but he figured that they were probably all glad he was gone. I don't want to put Erosen in a position to choose between me and Tsunade. Naruto thought sadly. He still remembered seeing her signature and the Hokage seal at the bottom of the scroll. It hurt every time he thought about it. You're afraid that the Toad Sannin would choose over you. You don't want to know if he would choose you. Hugh said sadly, why would he choose me over his teammate? Naruto thought, I'm just an orphan with a demon in his belly. An exile that no one wanted in their precious village. Kit, when you're stronger, when I've taught you and Mikahamaru the way of the Zot, build an army and level it then. They don't care about you. So, return the favor and the pain 100-fold. But what about my friends? What friends? The only one I've seen in your memories to treat you with any respect was that Haya girl and Mikahamaru and the third Hokage. The rest of them, Hugh said, I earned the respect of the others over time. Kit. When that pink-haired Harroden attacked you after bringing back the Uchiha, not one of them stopped her from beating you down, adding to the wounds you had. The Hyuga girl spoke up. If she had more confidence, she would make a fine mate. But she's so timid she scares herself. Hinata-chan just lacks confidence. You heard how her cousin talked to her, and from what I've seen over the years, her whole family treated her like that. Nar from the shadows had seen how the others interacted with the families. His blue eyes held a hint of longing every day when the other students would be picked up by their mothers or fathers or older siblings. Except Hinata, Naruto thought she would be picked up by a branch member or that Reidade woman who became her Jonin instructor. Village full of favoritism. The Uchiha will probably be made Hogue if he wakes up from that coma we put him in. Hugh taunted. Why are you sounding like this now? Nar asked. Because Kit, they hurt you all your life. You've viewed your memories of the beatings of the abuse over all the years. Even after you beat Gar and Shukaku, they gave that win to the Uchiha. They called your win over the Hyuga prodigy a fluke. You went with the Toad Hermit and brought back the Slug Sonning to be Hokage and still it got you nothing but contempt and scorn. Tell me Kid one thing that the Leaf Village has done for you. Konohamaru recognized me as a friend and rival. He sees me as his older brother. Hinata's always been nice to me even if she's a bit weird. Uruka-sensei. Ah, yes. Yumino. Let's talk about him for a moment. Did he help you over the years? No, he made fun of you in class and wouldn't help you learn. When you asked, he'd make fun of you and leave you on your own. He did nothing till it was nearly too late. I'll give him that. But he doesn't deserve the term of Sensei Kit. It took nearly 15 months to clean up your taijutsu of constant work. The same with your chakra control. If he had been a sensei, he would have taught you properly, not wait to care till you had a powerful scroll in your hands to keep it out of others' hands. Kalubi said, we'll talk more of this when I'm out and about, Kit. The monk is ready, I believe. Naruto opened his eyes and saw Ki out of the circle and putting his brush and paint aside. He took several deep breaths. Are you both ready? He asked. Hi, Micah said, and Nar could feel him tremble against his back slightly. Bring it on, Ki Ojian, Nar said flashing the Shaolin a fox-like grin. Brace yourselves. Here comes the pain, Ki said, and his hands were a blur of motion as he did nearly 100 hand signs in less than half a minute. He clapped his hands together and slammed them down onto the circle on a pair of runes. There was a flash of light, and Naruto saw red energy crackle before he and Mika were screaming in pain. In his mind, he could hear Kobe's own pain-filled cry mixed with his. The runes on their bodies glowed with a red-white light and lightning crackled over their skin. Both were soon surrounded by kit fire, and Naruto's yells became growls, and behind him, Mika could be heard growling as well. Ki looked on, his hands still planted on the runes, his wizened eyes watching. Naruto's blue eyes became red with slits, and the mirror that Ki set up, he could see Mika's face, and saw the golden eyes become reptilian, and red veins form around the iris. Both boys arched their backs, and their howls of pain became mixed. Wind whipped around and Ki saw that the candles were being lifted into the air, but they didn't warble once. He saw cracks appearing along the floor and the nearby trees seemed to be reaching out. Ki wondered which of the two that was. It could have been an eternity or it could have been a couple of minutes, but slowly the red light faded as did the white lightning. The candles lowered back down. Ki watched as the runes melted into the boy's skin. The last of the red energy faded and both boys slumped back, smoke rising from their skin. Ki finally sat back and saw his hands were red as if blistered. He stroked a hand through his beard and quirked an eyebrow. Now we wait, he muttered. Konoha Tsunade looked at the new village council and she was not impressed. Wonder if I can get Hinata in here to do cleanup again. Nad thought as the new group were just as short-sighted as the previous group. He should be marked as a missing nin. Koko Haruno yelled. Tsunade sighed. Why did they have to put that loud pink-haired banshee on the council? I swear Kami hates me. Thought Naruto will not be marked as a missing nin. Tsunade said loudly, cutting off everyone. The previous council forged my signature and stole the Hokage seal to exile him. I have teams on the lookout for him to get him back here. Nar is a hero of this village and you people better shape up. Or what, Lady Tsunade? One arrogant merchant asked. You will meet the same fate as your predecessors. Everyone turned to a shadowed form near the entrance and many of them shifted their seats back as Hinata stepped further into the room. Tsunade looked at her apprentice and nodded to her. Hinata shifted back to normal in an eye blink. Anyo. Shizune asked me to remind you, Lady Tsunade, that Gar wishes to speak with you after you're done with these people. Hinata said, giving the Hokage a bow while her eyes showed disdain for the gathered council. Hinata turned to go. She stopped hearing a council member mutter, damn demon horse should be run out of town. And pray tell Honorable Bulma, or you to go against a creation of Kami. Several people could be heard swallowing as Hinata turned once more to face the gathered council. Lady allowed this council to be reformed out of the kindness of her heart. You fools all need to remember the council is here to advise and help with the administration of paperwork, not dictate affairs. Less than a month gathered, and already you are making the same mistakes as the previous council. Shook her head. Hinata had become very protective of people she knew were precious to Naruto before his exile. Don't waste the chance you've been given. And should any of you go against the Hokage or Narokan, then you go against me. With that, Hinata shushined out of the room. Tsunade looked at the gathered council. Now you all will report to the Hokage Tower for assignments. I will no longer be doing everyone's paperwork. I will only be doing what is needed to be done by the Hokage. Village matters like merchants and day-to-day operations are yours. The ninja and overall is mine. If I find any more paperwork for foolish matters on my desk or if one of you inserts a replication rune on a paper on my desk again, I will deal with you personally. Punched the wall behind her and it exploded into gravel. And if any of you try anything against Hinata, well, I'm sure she won't leave much of you to deal with. She is vengeance given flesh. She's very protective of Naruto and those he felt were precious to him. And there are nin in this village that are the same way. If this council becomes a hindrance, I will dissolve it. You can't. The Fire Daimyo. I have his full support. He was most displeased to hear what this village has done not only to a hero like Nar, but to a son of a Hokage. You lie. Haruno screeched. That thing isn't Namikaze's son. It's all propaganda. Nope. It is the truth. But then again, you need to be stupid not to see the resemblance. But I guess Konoha isn't as special as everyone thinks. If you missed the lesson a year ago, then you truly are stupid. Turned and walked away. See for your assigned stations, and I hope you all know how to write your names, cause you're going to be doing a lot of paperwork. So guys, what do you think about this Naruto story? Tell me your opinion in the comments. And if you want more Naruto what if stories, make sure to subscribe to Universe of Naruto. Thanks for watching.